It's time for Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. For the next 3 hours, it's high school basketball from across the Mountain State. Live from Marshall University, here's your host, Ryan Epling.
What a week and what a day it has been. Welcome to another Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on an evening that kind of ends one of the more difficult weather weeks we've had in a long time. I'm pretty sure most of you who have kids in school or are students didn't go to school this week. Nobody in West Virginia went to school today. All 55 counties were closed today. The basketball schedule, of course, taking a little bit of a beating because of it. Practice is hard to get in. Games nearly impossible to get in. Several games were played, though, and while we had record cold temperatures outside this morning, it is this time of year when things really start to heat up as we get turned toward the postseason. Sectional tournament play begins tomorrow in girls high school basketball action throughout the state of West Virginia. I'm Ryan Epling, Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, all here with you on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We will be with you for the next 3 hours, again, 9 till midnight. Have several guests lined up for you, including in our second hour. We will hear from the all-time leading scorer in West Virginia boys high school basketball history, Josh DeLauder. Paul alum will join us 15 years after the Pirates made a run to the state tournament. I do want to be clear, they made it to the tournament 2 years later also after he graduated. So that wasn't just a one-time thing for that school, but still we're going to relive some wonderful memories from that time period as well. And we'll have Josh in our second hour tonight. And we've got a lot of interviews lined up with some of the top coaches or coaches of the top teams, several players as well. And Coach Marone, sectional tournament play starts tomorrow. I mean, we're to the point where, the next game, not guaranteed now.
No, I tell you what, Ryan, we talked about it back earlier in the season. A lot of times it's the build-up and then really December, a lot of tournaments going on. And we've talked about on the program that once January hits and you get into that stretch of games over that next 6 to 8 weeks, it really separates teams. I think some teams are starting to peak and kind of find a rhythm. You throw in this weather that's happened just before the girls' sectional, and James Collier, I tell you what, a lot of teams maybe had their rhythm, but when you get a whole week off, I don't care who you are, I tell you there's a lot of unknown going into sectional tournament play.
Well, and the first thing that you start thinking of is conditioning. How much have you lost because of the time that you've lost out of the gymnasium? As you and I both know from the coaching side, it takes 3-4 weeks to get a team fully conditioned to the way that you want to go. That can be lost in a matter of a week. And for several teams, I know several teams all out this week, some teams getting back in the gymnasium today. Main Road's starting to clear somewhat, but another batch is almost Snowmageddon Part 2 headed this direction, seeing some of the reports already. Snow, sleet, ice coming out of the Louisville area all the way up into Simpson County, which is around Shelbyville. It's on its way. It's and it's like you said, we've got girls sectionals that's supposed to start tomorrow. And unlike last year when we had all of this mess that happened with the snow, the ice, the water situation out of the Kanawha Valley last year that was kind of stuck right in the middle of the season, you were able to get those games put together, make that run, start getting the things ready for postseason play. This is almost like going back to the first week of December. Who knows what you're going to get? And the sad part of that is that because of this, there's going to be teams go home that shouldn't. That of Ryan, with the rankings of what you're expecting, that unexpected is going to happen, and it's going to go back of something that took place this week, and that's the lack of practices.
Well, and I also think, too, of our friends in Fayette County. I mean, there's a train derailment and ensuing multiple explosions not too far away from Valley Fayette High School. Of course, that happened back on Monday as well, and even one of the producers of our program, Marcus Constantino, made an appearance on the Rachel Maddow show to talk about that on MSNBC. So, I mean, it's been a strange week, Coach.
Well, it's been a strange week, and I know we all sat here last year, and with the water situation in the Charleston area and the weather, to be honest, we all kind of scratched our head and said, boy, this is strange. We'll never see anything like this again. And then this year, the absolute worst timing, in my opinion, from the coaches, the players, and the fan standpoint. James makes a valid point. I think the season of the upset, I think the snow may be the reason that time was missed, but anybody doesn't think that it's going to cause issues with going from no games from a week to 2 weeks. There's teams, including my own, that will not have played a game in almost 2 weeks. And then you go into a sectional environment, which is as high tense as it gets. It's going to be interesting to see. I think there's going to be some sloppy play, and some teams could be going home early.
Well, and the other side of that, too, is we talked about the conditioning of what it can happen with that. But you also have the timing factor of how well can the guards get the ball down the court? How fast can the defense transition to offense, especially on teams that we know like to go fast? And as you said, it gets into some sloppy play, a costly turnover in the backcourt that leads to uncontested points. Those are going to be the big stats that are going to add up over these next probably week whenever we finally get back to actually playing basketball. But it's not going to be the points in the paint. I think it's going to be games that come down that you have your upsets. When you go back, you're going to have costly turnovers that led to uncontested points, sloppy play defensively, people missing their assignments, help defense not getting back. And the other side is how well can those teams that like to go fast, can they sustain that for 32 minutes into the fourth quarter? Does this really play into some of the other teams that like to really break you down in a half-court offense, almost into a four-corner stall method, if you will, and force you to have to come up and try to make a play?
Well, Coach, I definitely we'll talk more in depth about the sectional seedings in girls. Those were released earlier this week. And some things that I think there were some very hard decisions to be made in some sectionals, and almost a situation where no matter what was done, there would be an argument for a different outcome. We'll talk about that much more. But first, we want to get a check of the scoreboard. And it's a limited one tonight, but Coach Marone, if you're ready, we'll let you fire away with the first one.
Looking for scores, look no more, basketballnight.com scoreboard update. In boys, first of all, a lot of games postponed tonight, but Nicholas County got their game in with Midland Trail. They won 73-63 over the Patriots. Also in boys tonight, Wheeling Park gets a 76-61 win over Steubenville, Ohio. And a real defensive struggle. Magnolia pulls out a 92-85 win in overtime over Monroe Central. So whether the weather outside is cold or not, the Nets were flaming in that one. Big win for Magnolia. Petersburg on the girls' side gets a 55-32 win over East Hardy. Fairmont Senior, this is a big result. Fairmont Senior gets a 69-31 win over Ravenswood, and Ravenswood really a team that was looked at to make a deep run into the playoffs, and Fairmont Senior, of course, a state tournament participant the last couple of years, really flexing their muscles right here before sectionals, and that is an abbreviated look at your basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Again, for the second time this week, no one in West Virginia public schools or none of the public schools had school today, as all counties were canceled. Of course, it was negative 18 degrees this morning in Wayne. I know when I got home from work at about 8:30 this morning, it was negative 18. It was 22 when I left to come here, so that's about a 44-degree swing. And you realize that negative 18 is also 50 degrees below freezing.
I found out this morning when I got up and tried to take a shower. I didn't realize that one water line can freeze, meaning the hot water, and the cold was
just keep
fine.
coming right on through.
Yeah, so when you jump in, you're going to get you a nice warm shower to start your day, and click. Nothing but cold water.
Again, sectional tournament play begins tomorrow, and Coach, your team, the 3 seed in the Class AA Region 4 Section 2 tournament. The way that seeding came out was Chapmanville Regional got the 1 seed, Mingo Central the 2 seed, your team the 3 seed, Wayne the 4, Scott the 5. I think it's very easy to put Chapmanville at 1, Mingo Central at 2. I really think you could have drawn Tulsa, Wayne, and Scott out of a hat, basically, based upon the regular season performances. Wayne beat Tulsa twice, Tulsa beat Scott twice, Scott beat Wayne twice. So it was all cyclical there. But in a lot of ways, and again, how I'm not asking for your vote in particular, but I'm just saying, how do you make a decision in a situation like that? Do you look at just kind of throw those games out and then look at other results?
Well, it was very unique in that situation. I think other sections probably ran into the same thing. But, in our sectional, we actually had thoughts last year and the year before. We had tried to petition to allow them to let us go on the sectional record. We all play each other. We're in the same conference. It's home and home. And the SAC said that everyone has to go with the ballots. You can have a gentleman's agreement, but the thing is there's another half of our region that also votes on us. And, Ryan, I think that's where a lot of people don't understand. There's 10 teams in Region 4 in Class AA. 5 are in our section, Section 2. The other 5 are in Section 1. The ballot that comes out is for all 10 teams. So we're voting on teams that are in the other half.
So you, and correct me if I'm wrong, you rank them because you don't rank your own team.
Right.
You rank 1 through 9.
Correct. You rank 1 through 9, and what they do is they tabulate. There's 10 teams, so there would be 10 ballots turned in. They total those. The lower the score, the better, because if you were seated number 1 on everyone's, you would have a 10 or 9. You can't vote for yourself. They throw out the lowest and the highest. That way, there's hopefully less chance to have a distorted vote. But what we had agreed on, to get back to your original point, is we were going to look at the record within the section. Then we were going to look at the conference record overall, because we all played the same teams. And then our third tiebreaker was going to be with teams in your class or higher. Because, there's a lot of teams that play games against teams that, to be honest, or, if you're playing triple A's and double A's and then you got somebody that's playing single A's or teams that are not at that level, you have to do your homework. And I think most of the coaches that I encounter, they do their homework, and I just like anything else, there's probably some that don't. But it's not an easy thing, and ours was a prime example because we knew that we could probably be a 3 to 5. I think Wayne and Scott were just as deserving as any of the rest of us. But I think maybe people looked at the non-conference, to be honest with you, because it was a wash, really. All 3 of us had beaten each other, so you have to use another criteria. And I think that people may have looked at the non-conference games. And
again, we definitely don't envy anyone in that. And also, James, we'll talk about the AAA Region 4 Section 2 tournament. I mean, you go back 2 years ago, Spring Valley and Logan had that outstanding sectional final game. They had an outstanding semifinal round game. Both teams led by sophomores 2 years ago at that time. And now this year, they are the 2 and 3 seeds in that sectional. One of them's going to play one game and be done.
Yeah, I talked to Kevin Gertz. Actually, yesterday, Kevin called me to give me the times and the setups, and I was floored when I heard the rankings. Huntington number 1, Spring Valley 2, Logan 3, Cabell Midland 4, Lincoln County 5. So it puts Cabell Midland and Lincoln County playing Monday night, pending weather, obviously. The winner of that game will then play Huntington Wednesday night at 6, and then Spring Valley Logan plays at 8. Now, again, it goes back to, okay, should Logan have probably been the 2? They beat Spring Valley head up. They had a better record. But was it going to make one difference or the other? It was obviously depending on what locker room you're going to dress out of, what jersey you're going to play. But it turned a lot of heads on Twitter whenever I sent the message out of why is Logan a 3 seed in Region 4 Section 2. You go back and you look at Logan's losses this year, and it's something I talked with Kevin. He said they lost to number 1 3 times. They lost to number 3. They lost to number 5. That's a pretty daggone good resume.
Yeah.
And take nothing away from Spring Valley. They played a gauntlet of a schedule to begin the non-conference season when they made the trip down to Tennessee. The misfortune of losing Maddie Morris whenever she broke her hand. But it's still, I mean, you have to go out, you play with what you have. Again, it goes back to the thing of because of the way that these sections are shoved together, you're going to lose one of the top 5 teams in the state of West Virginia in the sectional round. And on the other side of that, crazier things have happened. You get Cabell Midland or Lincoln that pulls the upset and gets Huntington in the next round. You send home 2 of the top 10 teams in the state of West Virginia before you even get into regionals. We saw it last year. Cabell Midland had the big upset of Spring Valley. Logan and Huntington in an epic battle in which these 2 teams didn't. There were 2 teams in the state of West Virginia that didn't even make it out of the sectionals.
And it's just it's incredible because you put so much time and effort into it, and all of a sudden it comes right down to basically a 32-minute game, and that's it. I mean, now if you get to that sectional final round, then you have a little bit of a fallback, but almost in every situation there's at least one really strong team, standout team, you don't want to play them on the road to try to go to the state tournament.
Well, here's another thing for you, Ryan, too, and I think as James mentioned, some of the matchups that come out of this, throw in the weather, all the things that could happen. Of course, last year, Midland played in the play-in game in the 4-5 game and an upset Spring Valley. What about there's a lot of sections, I don't know if people are aware of, they play at the higher seed. And the other half of our region, they play at the higher seed. So there is a big difference in a 2 and a 3. There's a big difference in a 1 and a 2 and a 3 because the other half of our section has 2 of the top AA girls teams in the state in Sissonville and Clay County, not to mention Nicholas, Polk, and Hoover. But Sissonville, I believe, got the 2 seed, Clay the 1. So if that championship is those 2 teams, it's going to be in Clay County.
Well, and a quick question before we go to break here. Correct me if I'm wrong. That AAA sectional is at Logan, correct?
Yeah, everything is at Logan. It's at the Logan Field House. That begins Monday and then goes to Wednesday.
And the AA is in Williamson this year instead of at Logan.
Yeah, it's at the Williamson Fieldhouse Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the scheduled dates. Monday night, Wayne and Scott in the play-in game, and then there'll be 2 semis on Wednesday, championship Friday.
So it should be a lot of fun, and those are just part of it. And, again, the boys have one more full week before they get things ramped up for sectional tournament play as well. And but, again, sectional tournament play begins tomorrow, weather permitting, in girls basketball in West Virginia. It's just hard to believe how fast things go. We've got to step aside and take a break, though. When we come back, we'll take your calls. 1-855-345-4709 on this chilly, snowy basketball Friday night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Join us online, and we want you to vote in our poll tonight. You've got till 11:45 tonight, and then we'll share the voting results. Last week, we asked you, what's the most all-around competitive region in West Virginia high school basketball, boys and girls, this season? Region 1 ranked the highest with your votes at 45%, followed by Region 4 with 24%, Region 3 22%, and Region 2 was in the bottom with 8%. This week's question, should West Virginia high school athletics switch to a one-class system? Vote yes, keep single A, AA, and AAA classes, or no, a one-class system would be much better. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. You've got till 11:45 tonight to vote, and we'll share the results at the end of the show this evening. Basketball Friday night, West Virginia's high school basketball voice. And we want you to be part of Basketball Friday night in West Virginia. We want you to be part of the family. Follow us on Twitter and make sure to mention, we'll make sure we mention your name tonight at @hoops_roundup. @hoops_roundup. Tweet us your team's scores and give us your comments on the game, and let us know if there's been delays, if you know a date that the games have been delayed. We'd like to know that too. Cancellations, all that information. And send that information to us throughout the week, because we update everybody on all high school basketball throughout the Mountain State. And a big shout out to the people tweeting us tonight, including Coach Eddie, and of all people, Ryan Epling. You're listening to Basketball Friday night in West Virginia.
Celebrating high school basketball around the Mountain State, you're listening to Basketball Friday night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to your hosts, James Collier, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
9:19 on this Basketball Friday night in West Virginia here on the Fast Break Sports Network. We'll get to the phones in just a minute, but we've got to cover and we don't like to do hard news on this show because we don't talk basketball. Basketball's fun. Hard news is what you try to escape. But we are on the campus of Marshall University. We are basically at the corner of Hal Greer Boulevard and 3rd Avenue. And right now, Marshall University students being alerted about an ongoing law enforcement situation right now in the 1400 block of 4th Avenue. That's about 2 blocks away from where we are. The university sent out a text message saying to avoid the 1400 block between 3rd and 5th Avenues. Right now, there's a law enforcement situation going on there. Just reading the information from WSAZ right now. We've also heard some other rumors that we're not going to go into because those are just rumors at this point. But point being, if you're a Marshall University student, we're on the campus radio station on 88.1. Avoid the 1400 block of 4th Avenue and stay away from the 1400 block between 3rd and 5th Avenues as well. I know when we came in, we could see a police presence there tonight. And
it's cold. Stay in anyway.
Stay in. Listen to basketball. You know, again, that's what we're here for. We're here to bring you some basketball. But, again, that's one of those situations where sometimes real life kind of steps in the way of having a little fun. But nonetheless, let's have some fun right now. Let's go Chad Richards, WSPW. And, Chad, no school this week, right?
Nope, no school all this week. But last week there was, of course, the big 5A championship between Parkersburg South and Morgantown, which they lost by, I believe, 3 points, 55-52. Kind of a heartbreaker there.
Yeah, Morgantown getting that win. That game was played in Ohio as part of the OVAC tournament. That was the championship game. And I know I saw some tweeted pictures. The Parkersburg South team actually got off the bus after the game and had to push a car that had gotten stuck in the snow.
Yeah, they did. I think that's really great. It shows they have a nice team dynamic working together. They work as a team. Now, going to the game, the top scorers there, Karen McCutcheon had 12 points. Bartlett had the game high with 14 points. Anna Hayden had 9 points, and Wilson had 4 points.
And that's the second loss in 3 attempts against Morgantown now for Parkersburg South. And, again, a foe that those two teams are very familiar with each other and have played each other in Charleston several times the past few years as well. But another really good ball game. But for Parkersburg South, do you have the sectional tournament information for the Lady Patriots?
Unfortunately, I don't think I have that at this time, but I'll be able to have that information for next Friday.
Yeah, we'll work on it again with schools being out. I know a lot of the information that normally gets out did not this past week, but again, sectional tournament play getting started tomorrow. Not every team playing tomorrow, of course. Many waiting until next week to get going. But Chad Richards, WSPW, always a pleasure, and hope you guys are staying warm.
We are. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right. And, again, we always appreciate our student correspondents from across the state. Chad, one of them. Now, right now, let's go right back to the phone lines. One of the teams that I really have gotten to become acquainted with in a way, Pikeview. And that's a school, in Athens, West Virginia, down in Mercer County. Again, I'm from Wayne, so we don't cross paths, but a friend of mine, David Meddings, was an assistant coach down there for their girls basketball team, and Karen Miller is the head coach. She joins us now. And Coach Miller, between girls basketball, getting to call some of your games at the key player shootout, Coach Marone's tournament at Tulsa, doing public address announcing for a Pikeview softball game at Wayne, and also getting to see you guys at a Marshall women's basketball game a couple of years ago. I feel like you and I are old friends at this point.
Well, with us having the opportunity to come up that way, several times, it seems that way.
Well, definitely.
And that's the way I like it.
Yeah, definitely. And, Coach, team 11-5 this season, right in the thick of getting ready for the postseason, and in a very tough area, a team that is considered one of the threats to get to Charleston out of that region. Tell me about your ball club this year.
Well, this year, we're, actually, we really haven't put 4 quarters together. Like you said earlier, we're 11-5, and we've lost 6 games. But my kids was starting to play real good 2 weeks ago. Our last game that we played was February the 10th, and we haven't played anymore. But, they were starting to gel together, because we didn't really see that at the beginning. When we scrimmaged Sissonville, I think that was probably our best overall game the whole year. But like I said, they were starting to come back right when all the snow and everything started coming. But I'm hoping that we haven't been in the gym a lot, but hopefully we can get it back together for sectional.
Coach Marone, thanks for joining us tonight. And Coach, you mentioned how well your team was playing down the stretch, and you guys are in a difficult region, by far probably one of the strongest in the state. You had a really good one.
It is really tough.
Yeah, you had a great
tough.
win over Bluefield at the end of January, and then you played Summers County tough. What effect do you think? I know it's hard to look into the future, but having the amount of time off and being in such a heated, intense region as you are, what, as a coach, are you trying to do to maybe prepare your girls for that level of intensity that's going to be coming at them next week?
Well, like we were able to get in the gym today, and we were just trying to, put a lot of things right out there on them so that they would, if we happen to go up against a different defense, that they'll be able to handle any situation. And conditioning right now is a factor, especially when you've been away from, practicing for a while. So conditioning is one thing that we're focusing on. And our defense has been great this year. Our offense is the area that the concern I have right now. If our offense comes around, we'll be okay.
Now your tournament, again, getting started tomorrow with the 5th seed Riverview playing at the 4th seed Mount View, and then Tuesday. Well, is that right? No.
Actually, they changed it.
Okay.
They changed it to Monday. Monday at 7 at Mount View.
All right. And are you going?
It was originally set for Saturday, and they decided to move it to Monday night.
All right. So that game will be Monday. Now, your team, the number 1 seed, will play the winner of that Riverview Mount View game. Now, is that still scheduled for Tuesday at Princeton?
It's still scheduled for Tuesday, and that's the first game in the on that particular day or evening, and then Bluefield will play James Monroe after we play.
So I mean, we're talking Pikeview, Bluefield, James Monroe. Bluefield has never made it to the girls' state tournament, but they have an excellent team this year. Pikeview's been there.
They really do.
Yeah,
they really do. They have good shooters. They're young, and a bunch of girls that are playing real well, and I mean it's going to be tough.
Tell you what, Coach, you're kind of like me. You've been around a while and seen a lot of trends and a lot of things coming. But really, the emergence in your all's region, and I know the winner and runner-up out of your section has still got a tall task ahead of them. I know the other half of your region. When you look at Summers County, Wyoming East, and then West Side, Wyoming East ranked number 1 here in the last couple weeks, and Summers County always a great opponent. So. The rigors of your season, you play pretty much all your regional teams. How does that prepare you for the tournament? Because your all's regular season schedule is as tough as anybody.
Oh, definitely. To be able to, play the other teams in the other section. We played Summers twice. Technically, we should beat them at our place. And we got behind and came back and took an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter and ended up losing. And then we go down to Summers and didn't play well and lost down there. We only played Wyoming East once. We were scheduled to play them this week, and it was canceled. And we were right there with Wyoming East, and last few minutes we just didn't play, like we should have. And West Side, we played them early, and they beat us by 5. And then we ended up playing them again, and they didn't have Hope Lester and their point guard, and we ended up beating them.
just been a fascinating season to follow those
Yeah.
teams because, again, basically the only teams that are beating them are each other. No one necessarily from outside of that area beating any of those area teams. You've seen the growth of this, not only that area, but also your program as well. Tell me about getting that program onto solid footing to where year in, year out, you're a threat to make it to Charleston.
Well, we just have a bunch of girls that are willing to work hard and come in and work all season. And, they see what the kind of program we have each year, and they want to be a part of it.
Coach Karen Miller of the Pikeview Panthers. Again, I feel like I know you. I've seen you maybe 15 times, it feels like, over the past 3 years. Good talking to you tonight. We wish you the best of luck this upcoming week.
Thank you. I appreciate you all for having me on your show.
All right.
Thank you.
I got you. That's Karen Miller of Pikeview High School. Again, the Panthers will take on the winner of Mount View and Riverview in the Region 3, Section 2 semifinal on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock at Princeton High School. Right now, we'll step aside and take a break. We'll have another scoreboard update and more from you here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates. Listen on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State, including Power 92 Radio, 92.3 FM WYRCLP in Spencer, 97.9 FM WSPWLP in Parkersburg, 91.5 FM WRSG in Middleburn, 106.7 FM WHFI Linside, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM WVLW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZ Edmond Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAPLP Clay, and 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. Cable subscribers can find Basketball Friday Night in the Huntington region on Comcast Channel 25 and Armstrong Digital Channel 204. Streaming online high-definition video can be found on our website, basketballnight.com. Just click to watch, and on affiliate rsnsports.com. You can listen online with any computer or mobile device by going to basketballnight.com and click on Listen Live. Streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University, visit basketballnight.com. For video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night scoreboard, watch our live high-definition video by going to basketballnight.com and click to watch. Become part of the Basketball Friday Night family. We'd like to hear from you. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Call us toll-free, 855-345-4709. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to Basketball Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
It is 9:33 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you as, again, a quiet night throughout the state of West Virginia. All schools, public schools, were canceled today in all 55 counties due to just absurdly cold weather. Again, I saw minus 18 on my temperature gauge. I saw others that were colder than that this morning. And the good thing is we never have to, as I tweeted earlier today, I can mark Antarctica off the bucket list. I never have to go there. I know what it's like. Snow covered and just like it was today. And it really was all through West Virginia, and West Virginia's under a winter storm warning again because there's more snow expected tonight. Coach, it's just not good.
Well, I'll tell you what, a friend of mine said that he actually ventured out this morning in the brunt, and he said, my face hurt. He said, that's the only way I can describe it. He said, just the mere cold. He said, it was painful. And he said he scurried back into his house. So I don't know how those Eskimos make it.
Well, we're going to hear from the head coach of the Wyoming East girls in just a moment, Angie Bonzini. But right now, it's time for another check of the scoreboard, and I'll handle this one. The basketballnight.com scoreboard. Looking for scores. There you go. Look no more. Visit basketballnight.com. We'll have you covered tonight. In Hardy County, they were able to do battle up in the Potomac Highlands, and that was where Moorfield beat East Hardy 59-39 in boys action tonight. Also tonight, Nicholas County beats Midland Trail 73-63. In overtime tonight, Magnolia beats Monroe Central out of Ohio, out of Woodsfield, 92-85. Preston Boswell, 39 points in the win, an overtime win tonight for the Blue Eagles. Also tonight, Shadyside, Ohio, in the third-place game of the OVAC, defeats the Cameron Dragons 56-48. Girls high school basketball action tonight. Petersburg beats East Hardy 55-32. It was Fairmont Senior all over the Red Devils of Ravenswood. The Devilettes fall 69-31. Big win for Fairmont Senior there. And Wheeling Park behind 11 points from Kendra Johnson and 10 points from Tam Bumgardner beats John Marshall tonight 52-32. That's it, y'all. That's your basketballfridaynight.com scoreboard. The Wyoming East Warriors girls team, ranked number 1 in Class AA, is the top seed in their sectional play and has a 17-1 record. Head coach Angie Bonzini is with us now. Coach, welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking time to talk with us. Your team, 17-1. And for folks outside of the area, this is a program that went a big stretch through the early part of this, basically since 2000, of making it to Charleston on a regular basis, but not necessarily getting deep into the tournament once there. Then Westside had its run the past few years where it's won 2 of the last 3 state championships. But your team this year, very young. I know that the Pineville Middle School girls are on like a 60-plus game winning streak. It's probably bigger than that by now. But so the folks in that area knew what was coming, and it's a ball club that has really lived up to some high expectations to this point in the season.
Yes, we've been very blessed this year. We are a very young team, but, we've met the challenges that have been, before us this season thus far.
Coach, it's Coach Marone. Thanks for coming on the show. I tell you what, Coach, the thing that's impressed me is the way that you've blended. You have some veteran players that had been with your squad, and you have some new players that have come in this year. And I can tell you from a coaching standpoint, sometimes that's not the easiest mix, and you've seemed to have blended them together, and everybody has continued to do their part. But if you could talk a little bit about that, because sometimes when you have a young group coming in and you have some veteran players, that's not always an easy transition, but you've seemed to do an outstanding job.
Well, that's a credit to our seniors. They took our young kids under their wing, and their leadership, Bree Perty, Kara Joel, and Casey Mullins, have been vital to our team's success this year.
Well, Coach, freshman Gabby Lapardis has been someone who has kind of gotten onto our radar, at least for some of the performances she has had, some big performances in some of your more important games. Is it difficult sometimes to rely on a freshman to be maybe that top scoring threat?
I think Gabby's so much more than just a scoring threat. I call her the quintessential point guard because she's very unselfish. She's had a lot of experience, I know Gabby since she was a small child, so I knew she had the ability to do it. It's been great to see her step up this year and have such a great freshman year.
Coach, when you talk about the mixture between the older senior team and then the younger girls coming in the freshman class, you talk about Gabby and Bree. Is it interesting to sit back and watch those two and almost say Bree is the now, Gabby is the future of this team, and especially with the success that you've had this year?
I think so, and I think, all the girls on the team, the whole team this year have really meshed well. In fact, I had one tell me yesterday in practice, we're just a family, and we're just a family. And I think that's what's been the key to our success is because they are a family. We are a family. And I think that's, comes off the court, and it's bled on the court this year.
Coach, we've tried to ask, and I gave my own input for all that was worth too. This break that everyone has had here prior to sectionals, I don't know how you feel about it. I know one of the big issues for us, obviously, has been trying to get our conditioning. You can lose it in a hurry, but I just was wondering, obviously we're in a different situation than you are, and you guys have had such a great run. I have to think that kind of that stop and that week off and stuff at this time is maybe something that maybe you'd rather not had, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather been on the court. We lost 4 games in the last week and a half due to cancellation. That's a concern going into sectional play because we have such a tough region down in this part. We're just trying to keep us sharp. We did get on the court yesterday and today, and we're trying to keep as sharp as we can, to get all the rust off before sectional play next week. I wish we had another week before sectional play.
Coach, you talk about the conditioning factor, but how much do you go back into just trying to go through the fundamentals, especially once you finally get back in the gym, knock the rust off? Is it almost like the end of November, getting ready to start the season off in December all over again?
Absolutely. It's kind of like, let's go back to our start of the season, fundamentals, because, we need to get our sharp execution like we had. Our transition has worked well for us all year, and just get back on the court and let the kids just run them down the court, basically, for lack of a better word.
Coach, I know some counties have policies where they don't allow, not only just don't allow games, but they don't even allow practice when there is a school cancellation or anything of that nature. And I'm not sure what the policy is in Wyoming County, but I know that at a consolidated school between Pineville and Mullins in New Richmond, where Wyoming East High School is, and there are some rural areas in there, and with the snow that we've had, I'm sure you've had some kids that have probably had a difficult time being able to just get out of the house.
Absolutely. Actually, Wyoming East has 4 towns we're coming from: Herndon, Glen Fork, Mullins, and Pineville. So we've been spread out over more of the county. It has been a concern. We just basically could get back in the court, on the gym yesterday and today. So we are fortunate to have that flexibility that we can practice. Like you said, some counties can't have it, but we're able to at our discretion. But, safety is our main concern. If the kids don't feel like it's safe to come to practice, they won't come. You're right. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, it's a lot of West Virginia is dealing with the same thing. And I guess that's the one bright spot, if there is one, because there really isn't one in a situation like this in terms of just this amount of snow and this prolonged period. But everyone's kind of on an even playing field when it comes to that.
Absolutely, yes. Sectionals for, I think, the whole state might start out a little bit slow to begin with, just getting us back in the gym and on the court for everybody.
Well, Coach, your team has had an excellent regular season, and one that, if it can continue, we'll get to Charleston, and we certainly wish you the best of luck moving forward into sectional play. Now, we're trying to track down all of the sectional tournament schedules. Can you help me out with yours a little bit here?
Sure. Our section is supposed to start tomorrow with our 4 and 5 seeds playing. And then Tuesday, we have our 2 games. It sits at 8 o'clock at Summers County High School. Then on Thursday, we have our championship game at 7 o'clock at Summers County High School.
All right. So we'll try to get that in there and up on the website, basketballnight.com, and we'll keep up with it. Coach, we wish you the best of luck to the postseason.
Well, I really thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me on. And you're right, we've been blessed this year. All
right, that's Angie Boncini, head coach of the Wyoming East Warriors. And Coach Verone, they definitely have been blessed with a lot of talent. It's not only just talent, though. It's kids that are willing to work. And I think when you see a team that has the success out of one of its feeder schools, as this one has, and then see them carry that on to high school, that's a credit not just to the head coach of the girls program, who still has a hard job to do no matter what, but also to the parents and the kids themselves for being able to buy in and the work they put in.
Yeah, the work that they put in behind the scenes and really building up to that point. And as you mentioned, a group that comes through, the excitement and the buzz was there. There was a time not too long ago when Wyoming East was a regular competitor there in the state tournament, and then they've hit some hard times the last couple of years. And I really feel best for Bree Pertee and those other girls that are seniors. It's been a rough road to hoe the last couple of years. Would have been easy to throw in the towel. She got her 1,000th point this year. And James, I tell you what, our youth sometimes take a beating as far as being stand up and doing the right things. But for those girls that are seniors to have hung in there and now get to kind of enjoy the fruits of the labors with this new mix of players, you got to feel good for them.
Yeah, absolutely, especially for a player like Bree Pertee, who's, like you said, she's been through the ebbs and the flows, the roller coaster of a ride that has been Wyoming East basketball. But for her to get that 1,000th point and to really have that spark plug they call Gabby Lapardis. We had her on the show earlier this season, and man, she's a lot of fun to watch. She's in a bite-sized frame, but man, she is not afraid to attack the basket. And when you have a big player that steps in that role as only a freshman, and she can attack, really get the dribble drive going, allow that outside in play to start working, that allows Bree Pertee to really do what she likes to do best, post up and go to work on the glass.
Again, the postseason should be a lot of fun for them. They've got Liberty and Independence scheduled to play tomorrow. Westside and Summers County is a first-round sectional matchup. Over the years, you would not have expected that. And then, of course, the Liberty Independence winner will take on Wyoming East. Of course, if you remember Independence, talked to Chloe Lane last week after she hit 16 threes in the game. Still, one of the most remarkable performances. Actually, I will say the most remarkable performance that I've ever come across. So a big thanks to Wyoming East and for they've become a regular with our show here over the course of this year. Right now, we'll step aside, take a break. We'll have more of Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia when we return here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Mackenzie Barker, Clay County Panthers. Jared West, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Jadarian Wade, Parkersburg Big Reds. Gage Wicks, Williamstown Yellow Jackets. Gavin Nichols, Clay County Panthers. Elijah Cuffey, Polka Dots. Cody Maynard, Parkersburg South Patriots. And Stephen Hairston, Sissonville Indians. What they all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, and click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab. Fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Check it out at basketballnight.com. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Mountain State's voice for high school basketball. Join us on the phone tonight and share your team's game, or you can let us know about cancellations. Games coming up, rescheduling. Call us toll-free, 1-855-345-4709, 855-345-4709. Follow us on Twitter, @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Basketball Night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to basketball night in West Virginia with James Collier, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
9:49 on this basketball Friday night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. Gang's all here. James, we have missed you the past couple of weeks.
I had some fun trips. Started off the season with the Marshall softball down in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Good start for the Thundering Herd, 5-0, and then last weekend down in Greenville, North Carolina. That was a great trip all around. Marshall did have the one blemish, the defeat to Towson, but a great opportunity to visit the campus of East Carolina. Tom McClellan, the assistant director for sports information, he actually met with us on Friday morning. Got to go over, tour the stadium, go to the memorial. Got to go over and take the team over later on that afternoon. And it was kind of a somber event because a lot of them, they've heard the story, you've seen the movie and stuff, but when you see it face to face, I think that was when a lot of it really hit for the team. But yeah, back home this weekend, the team down in Tampa, a little warmer temperatures. I think they said it was 51 in Tampa today, but everybody down there saying they're freezing to death. But back on the road next week, head out to Columbia, South Carolina. Some final games in non-conference play before the Thundering Herd gets ready to start in conference play. But next weekend, two big games, South Carolina and South Alabama, two big names in college softball. But Marshall today knocking off Dartmouth and USF, still has Auburn in the morning, but starting to take the nation by storm, this Thundering Herd team.
This weather's perfect for softball.
Oh, it's great. It's in the first 2 weeks I was on the road with the team, we were delayed both weeks for frozen fields.
The one good thing about basketball is it's indoors. The bad thing is you got to drive to get there. Jason White, head coach of the Morgantown Mohegans, joins us now. And Coach White, an adventurous trip home from the OVAC championship game last Saturday.
Yeah, I would call it an adventure, all right. About an hour and 45-minute trip that turned into about a 4-hour trip. But thank God we all made it back safe.
Yeah, and I guess of lesser importance, but of obviously note, picked up a big win over Parkersburg South, avenged your only loss of the season in that one. So you've played the Lady Patriots 3 times in about a 2.5-week span, won 2 out of 3. And I guess now it's safe to say you guys have a good feeling out situation there for you two teams that have been so familiar in the AAA postseason the past few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're about as even as you can get. I mean, we've each knocked each other off on our respective home courts. And then, we went to a neutral court on Saturday, and we were fortunate enough to get a 3-point win. But, it's two programs. It's got a lot of respect for each other. And Parkersburg South, so well coached. Coach Stevens does such a great job there with those girls. And we're so familiar with each other. There's no secrets. It's just two teams that play the game the right way and play it really hard. And it's got to be a fun game to watch for fans.
Well, Coach, tell me about coming back off of that loss occurring in Morgantown back on February 3rd, but you bounced back, beat Parkersburg by 23 just the next night, and then have reeled off consecutive wins over Martinsburg, Wheeling Park, and then got Parkersburg South again in the OVAC title game. I guess you would have to be happy with how your team responded after that defeat.
Yeah, we kind of went back to the drawing board as far as defense goes. We've really put a lot of effort into our defense over the course of the last couple of weeks. It had gotten a little lackadaisical and just not to the standard that we like to play defense at Morgantown High. We didn't have much time to dwell on that loss. 24 hours later, we were playing a quality Parkersburg team on their home floor, and I thought that was a good bounce-back win for us. And then, it was just a couple nights later, we had a very good Martinsburg team coming to our place, and we're fortunate enough to get that win, and then went into the conference tournament where we faced Wheeling Park in the semifinals, and then obviously Parkersburg South in the championship. But the kids have bounced back really well and are playing really hard. And sometimes other coaches and reporters look at me like I've got two heads when I say that. We've gone back to the drawing board when it goes to defense and really refocused ourselves. They say, Coach, you're only giving up 33 a game, but it's not about the 33 a game. It's about the shot opportunities that we were giving other teams and our lack of focus on the boards. And we've really gone back and hit that hard. So I'm really proud of our kids and the effort and energy they've been playing with over the last couple of weeks.
Well, now, of course, been very difficult for anybody to have school this past week. We've been talking with various coaches about what they've done during the layoff. How have you been able to handle the layoff?
Well, it's just been, so hit and miss with whether we're going to be allowed to practice or not allowed to practice. And, when we don't have school, our superintendent makes the call here in Monongalia County, and they don't make that call till the morning of. So we're not sure whether we're going to be able to practice or not, and what time we're going to be allowed to practice. So it's kind of been a waiting game for us until the day of. Now, we've been fortunate enough to get 3 practices in this week, and it's just been when we can get time on the floor, trying to make the most of that opportunity. And we've kind of gone back to some fundamentals and trying to clean some things up a little bit, and just really trying to execute some sets, some man sets and zone sets a little bit better than we have been. But it's really been back to fundamentals for us this week when we've been allowed to practice.
Well, Coach, this coming week, correct me if I'm wrong on the sectional schedule. Again, we're trying to feel them out here a little bit. But Tuesday, you'll play host to University, and Preston will play at John Marshall, and then the winners will play at the higher seed on Thursday. Is that correct?
That's correct. And, it's a University team that we've seen twice this season and been fortunate enough to beat. They're a little bit younger than we are, and they're gaining experience every time out. And I know, Coach out there has done a good job with them, and he's really got those kids to play hard and buy in a little bit. I know that they've had a rough season, but I tell you what, they were much improved the second time we saw them. And we're going to have to show up on Tuesday night and play some good basketball, because I know they'll be extremely hungry to come across town and try to knock us off.
Well, from a coaching perspective, how do you go from last year you had a team that was pretty youthful as a whole. Obviously, you have a lot of people back this year, but you transitioned from a youthful team to an experienced team. Do you handle them any different?
I think we attack games a little bit different than we did last year. At this point last year, we were a 12-8 team, and I don't think a lot of people were taking us very serious at this time last year, even though we had in my opinion, a very good basketball team that just played a really tough schedule and came up on the short end of the stick on a couple of nights and didn't really find themselves till the second half of the season. Now this year, it's the opposite. We've kind of been out there in front most of the season, and we attack it as people are trying to come take what we've got, and we're trying to defend what we have, and trying to get our kids to stay focused and play hard and play possession by possession and not look ahead, as opposed to last year when we couldn't look ahead. We were 12-8 and we were scratching and clawing to try to win a sectional.
Well, Coach, I still want you to know that last year you did not sneak up on us from Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. We kept up with you. We saw that every time you played Parkersburg South, and it felt like you played them about a dozen times last year, by the way, every time it got a little closer. And it got a little closer.
It did.
And then you got them in the postseason. So, no, we weren't feeling too sorry for you going into the postseason last year. We knew you had a pretty good team now.
Oh, I knew we had a pretty good team. I just didn't know if we were going to be able to go and knock off a number 2 University in the sectional. And I knew if we weren't able to do that was going to put us against number 1 Parkersburg South in the regional. So I certainly didn't want to go through both of them to try to get to Charleston. So we were fortunate enough to take advantage of playing a very good basketball team in University, and was able to get that upset in the sectional championship, which avoided playing Parkersburg South on their home court. So, some people look back at those 3 state tournament games and say, "Man, what a great job your kids did in those games." But I tell you what, we played a heck of a sectional game to prepare us for that. That game set us up beautifully to get to Charleston, or that run may have never happened.
It's amazing how you cannot take any step for granted along the way. Coach Jason White of the Morgantown Mohegans, they go from the hunter to the hunted as the postseason starts next week. We wish you the best of luck.
Hey, thanks so much, and as always, you guys do such a great job. Thanks for having me on.
All We appreciate it. That's Coach Jason White, head girls basketball coach at Morgantown High School. We're going to step aside, take a break. When we come back, we'll get a scoreboard update, and we'll have more of your phone calls. 1 hour in the books, 2 to go as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues along the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State. Check out our poll question. Go online. You've got till 11:45 tonight. And we want you to answer this question. Should West Virginia high school athletics switch to a one-class system? You can vote yes, keep single A, double A, and triple A classes, or no, a one-class system would be better. Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates. Listen on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State, including Power 92 Radio, 92.3 FM, WYRCLP in Spencer, 97.9 FM WSPWLP in Parkersburg, 91.5 FM WRSG Middleburn, 106.7 FM WHFI Linside, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM WVOW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZLP Edmond and Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAPLP Clay, 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. Cable subscribers can find Basketball Friday Night in Huntington on Comcast Channel 25 and Armstrong Digital Channel 204. Streaming online, you can find us on our website, basketballnight.com.
This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, heard statewide on great radio stations. Visit basketballnight.com to find the station nearest you. Get all the scores all the time at basketballnight.com or on Twitter at @hoops_roundup. Now back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
It is 10:02 on this Friday, February 20th, 2015. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone back with you here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Andrew Harrison is our special correspondent. And Andrew, you have our standout athlete of the week this week.
Yes, our standout athlete of the week is Carrie LaHoda.
Carrie LaHoda, a senior at Tulsa High School, the last of the LaHodas, Coach Marone. But tell me what you were able to learn about Carrie LaHoda.
Well, I was able to find out 3 things, Ryan, one of which she's part of the Beta Club, which is an 80-year organization that tries to impart some leadership skills on the youth within the organization. And she's also a part of RAISE, which is a statewide organization which is based upon trying to not combat, but stop students from taking tobacco products. And at the same time, she's a part of the National Honor Society, and she was inducted into that, and that's something that she's been a part of for some time.
Yeah, definitely very active in her school activities, and I believe that Andrew has a little bit more on our standout athlete of the week, Carrie LaHoda.
Carrie LaHoda is this week's Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. LaHoda is considered a go-getter. She tries to experience everything the Tulsa high school community has to offer. It results in her having a busy schedule. Tulsa High School Principal Reva Sanders Wallace says even though Carrie has few unscheduled moments, she remains a well-rounded student athlete.
She continued throughout the cheerleading for 4 years. She also plays softball and basketball, and she's played basketball. She is our only senior on our basketball team this year. So she is a year-round athlete as well as a conscientious, hardworking, high-achieving student.
Lahota serves as a co-captain for the Lady Running Rebels. Principal Sanders Wallace says in spite of her being a soft-spoken young lady, she inspires her teammates and her classmates with her actions.
Most people look up to her by what she does, not what she says. She's not an overly outspoken young lady. She gets her point across by her extremely challenging work ethic.
Carrie Lahota is continually in motion, playing 3 sports during the school year along with her academic load. Carrie's routine is a blur, moving from one season into the next without a break. Assistant basketball coach Jennifer Jude says Lahota is a coach's dream.
I've never seen anything but full throttle with Carrie. If we come down to the last softball game, at the end of it, she's still going to go as hard at that as she did in the very first cheerleading practice. She never quits. You really like to have that as a coach to drive these other girls and to be an example.
Carrie Lahota is a student athlete whose school year is filled with her academic responsibilities, extracurricular activities, as well as athletics. She's the type of person who will face what life presents to her in the only manner she knows, bringing a competitive spirit and relentless work ethic in order to address the task at hand. For Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, I'm Special Correspondent Andrew Harrison.
Thanks very much for that, Andrew. And Coach Marone, you have the good fortune of coaching Carrie Lahota. I mentioned the last of the Lahotas. You've also coached her 3 older sisters as well.
Yeah, Carrie's the 4th of the Lahota sisters, and I know you've been
the
familiar
last of
with
the
them.
Lahotas. Yes.
Yeah, and she's a special kid, and I say that before I say athlete. She's an exceptional athlete. As the package mentioned, she plays all the sports that we have to offer. She's a top academic student. She's involved in a lot of clubs outside of the normal routine, and she is just a pleasure to coach. I know Coach Jude was in the package too, but just enjoyable. She is the only senior for the Lady Rebels this year, and she's a great example for the other girls to look up to.
Definitely someone that you will be leaning upon a little bit heavier maybe than normal here coming the postseason. With she's had that experience of being in the postseason and trying to get a win over Mingo Central next week.
Yeah, I tell you what, she has seen the ups and downs. We talked about Bree Pertian, the young ladies at Wyoming East. Carrie was an integral part of our conference championship team year before last. We were 21-4. We were regional finalists. Carrie was a starter on that ball club. We had a year last year that was a rough road to hoe her junior year, and she hung in there and she stuck with it, and she has helped us kind of navigate through this year, and we're excited about next week, and I think that she'll rise up to the occasion as she always does.
We're going to talk with Ripley High School boys coach Evan Faulkner in just a moment. But first, James Collier back with a check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. Go to basketballnight.com for all of your scoreboard needs from around the state of West Virginia. We'll start on the boys' side. Very few scores to post tonight. As soon as we find out definites on any postponements or cancellations, we'll pass those along as well. Moorfield, the Yellow Jackets, sting the East Hardy Cougars, 59-39. Aaron Cole nets 14 points in the win for the Yellow Jackets. Also on the boys' side of things, it was Nicholas County over Midland Trail, 73-63. Two cancellations for sure. Scott Skyhawks and Mingo Central, that one's canceled. Fayetteville and Greenbrier West also canceled. Just coming in now, Tulsa and Sheldon Clark. That one's been postponed to tomorrow with a 1 p.m. tip-off. That one just coming in. It was Willing Park over Steubenville, Ohio, 76-61. Phil Bledsoe, 26 points. Toddy Goodwin Rowe with 23. Magnolia and Monroe Central needed overtime, but Magnolia with a 92-85 victory. Preston Boswell with 39 points. Shady Side, Ohio knocks off the Cameron Dragons 56-48. That was the OVAC third place game. Also in the OVAC tournament, it was the Brook Bruins knocking off Beaver Local, Ohio 71-45. University over Indian Creek, Ohio 71-48. The Frosh, Ethan Ridgway, has 28 points. Sophomore Jeff Hamprian has 15. And Google says that's all I can do because it just said all snap. So that's a check of your basketballfridaynight.com scoreboard.
I'll tell you what, I'll pick up for you here real fast. Berkeley Springs beat Hancock, Maryland, 74-46. And on the girls' side, it was Wheeling Park over John Marshall, 52-32. Also in girls basketball, Fairmont Senior over Ravenswood, 69-31. Big win there for the Polar Bears. And Petersburg beat East Hardy, 55-32.
It's still all snap.
I think that sums up a lot of things right now. But let's go right back to the phone lines. We'll talk with Jeff Jenkins about the South Charleston boys in just a moment. But first, let's go to Ripley High School boys coach Evan Faulkner. And, Coach, welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, good to have you back on the program. Your team 10-9 on the season. And since we last spoke, your last game out, a tough loss to Parkersburg, but just before that, not necessarily that you beat Westside, but the manner in which you beat the Renegades in Charleston, a 19-point win over a very good Westside basketball team. And Ripley, one of those teams that's been in a lot of tight games here of late.
Yeah, absolutely. We took a tough one there at Parkersburg in double overtime. And then, sandwiched a win there between a loss at Riverside as well. So we've actually lost 3 of the last 4, which you guys know, but we've done that by a combined 8 points. So I'm just hoping we, can figure out how to finish some of those off. I think, it's kind of a sign of our youth and inexperience. But at the same time, the only way you get better at winning those games is continue to put yourself in positions to do it. So hopefully, as we approach the postseason here, we've prepared ourselves well with our schedule and the games we played, and hopefully we can figure out a way to win a couple of those come postseason time.
Well, Coach, last time we talked about your background with Elliott County High School in Kentucky and the outstanding run that that program made into Lexington. See, I'm trying to put you in Charleston now, but into Lexington a few times for the Sweet 16 there. That was a team known for playing fast. We talked about how Ripley, with your personnel, more suited for kind of a slowdown game, and especially in that Westside game, from all accounts that I was able to receive, you locked them down and used your size to your advantage in that game.
Yeah, I felt like that was probably our, best performance when you're talking about just execution on both ends. I felt like that was the best we'd played all year. We did a really good job with game plan, and those guys, just went out and executed almost to perfection. I don't know the numbers exactly. I hope I don't tell you these wrong, but it seems like we held them somewhere around 21% from the field, defensive field goal percentage. And, they're obviously a team that's known for their offense, and more so than that, you let a team like that get going offensively, their defense really thrives off of that, and they become really energized, and it's really tough to play against their pressure. So I felt like, because we kept them kind of out of a rhythm offensively, they were a little bit easier to attack defensively, and I was just really proud of the way our guys executed in that game.
Coach James Collier, thanks for joining us tonight. How much do you take out of your playing time when you played in Kentucky with the district side in Kentucky kind of the same as the sectional side in West Virginia, where all you have to do is you get in and that first night, play to a win, you're guaranteed a shot into the regionals, the same thing here in the state of West Virginia. How important is it to make those guys understand how big that district game, as in West Virginia, that sectional game becomes?
Yeah, it's huge. Now, for us, we'll actually have to, more than likely, we'll have to win 2. We've got a 5-team section with Riverside and Capital and GW and South Charleston and ourselves. So we'll probably end up being in the 4 or 5 game because, we couldn't figure out how to win one of those in the regular season. But, it becomes a one-game season. You just got to do your best to prepare and, go out and you got one shot at it. And, if you don't play well, then you're going home. So we'll talk a lot about that. It's not like you got to go out there and beat those guys in a series. If you just figure out how to do it one time, and then you get to move on and try to do it again. So we'll put a big emphasis on just one game. That's all we need, and then we'll try to go do it again.
32 minutes, all it takes. Evan Faulkner, head coach of the Ripley Vikings boys basketball team. Wish you the best of luck in the upcoming postseason, and we'll try to get you on again before we get out of here for the year in a couple of weeks.
Okay, guys, I appreciate you.
All right, that's Ripley High School coach Evan Faulkner. Going right back to the phone lines now. The South Charleston Black Eagles have just one loss in boys basketball this season, and Jeff Jenkins has been there to call the action for this ball club throughout the course of the year. He joins us now. And Jeff, this South Charleston ball club had a rough outing in Charleston in the state tournament a year ago, lost in the opening game in the quarterfinal round to Hurricane. But outside of that, 19-1 this year really has taken off right from where it had been playing at the level, at least before that state tournament game.
Guys, good to be on with you tonight. And I tell you, it's really surprising, quite honestly, because what they had coming back, well, arguably the best player in the state is Brandon Napper, and then Kentrey Greer in the backcourt. But everyone else is new. Really, not much varsity action at all. And they lose A.D. Cunningham, who's going to Charlotte to play football, and he blew out his knee in the football season. So he'd have been right up there for maybe first-team All-Stater. And so they lose him, and they just kind of plug in the holes, and they've had a great year. I think they've surprised their coach, Vic Herbert. They've just played so well together. And, there have been some tight games at times, but only game they lose is at Hurricane in a close game, and they didn't play particularly well that night, and Hurricane played better and beat them. And just like they did in the state tournament last year. But this just seems to be a team that plays well together. They've got Capital tomorrow night in the Mountain State Athletic Conference Championship game, and that should be an exciting game to do. And they're just been a lot of fun to watch. And they haven't played since last Friday night when they beat Winfield. They scored 94 points. And at calling their games this year, I thought that was probably the best offensively they've played. Now, I don't know what this long layoff's going to do because they haven't had any organized practices this week. They have a rule in Kanawha County that if you don't go to school, you can't practice. So there's been no school at all this week in Kanawha County. So we'll see if that affects them. But Capital's kind of in the same boat tomorrow night, too.
Jeff, you bring up the point of only two players from that South Charleston team last year that got upset in the quarterfinals back this year with AD being out with the knee injury. How much have you noticed that those guys really stepping up, trying to lead the younger guys or the new guys with the team, trying to get back to that place where they wanted to make that run and hopefully avenge that loss to Hurricane last year in that semifinal round?
I've noticed a few times, guys, that Kentrey Greer has just asserted himself more offensively. I mean, he's not a great outside shooter, but at times he's hit outside shots. He's more of a slasher type kid, and he's been very good at the foul line. His defense is very good. But there's been times when Napper has been, Napper's averaging like 25 points a game, so he's had a great year. But there have been times where teams will box him one and try to take him out, and those type of things. And Greer has really stepped up offensively, maybe, more than you thought he could. And Vic Herbert says he could score that many if a night. He could score 18 a night if he wanted to. But a couple of times this year, he's kind of done that. The game at Riverside, you guys were talking to Coach Faulkner there, and Riverside's in that section. South Charleston was down at Riverside. In the fourth quarter, and Greer had a great game that night down the stretch, and so he's been the guy. You don't want to take Napper for granted. He is just, he's an outstanding player. And when you watch him night in and night out, you come to kind of appreciate what he can do. But I think Greer is just, his offense at times this year has really made them even that much better.
Jeff, one quick question before we let you go. When we look back at the end of the season of what this South Charleston team has been able to do, which game stands out over the other? The 1-point win over Huntington or the 2-point loss to Hurricane?
Wow, well, the 1 point, the Huntington team, you guys know Huntington, obviously, very talented. And, just the way South Charleston won the game and Napper hit the shot at the end. So I guess if I have to go with the win, I'll go with that. But, guys, let's see how they play in the tournament, because that, if they're fortunate enough to get there, can they complete, because they've gone in those top-seeded positions and just not performed well. And I think it would be something if this is a team, when you looked at them, you say, well, they lost so much. But it would be something if this would be the team that maybe you didn't expect to be there that could really make a run. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is this the team just, as, have this collection of talent, if they can be the one that can make a run? Because I do think, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it, AAA is really wide open, quite honestly. There's, there's a lot of, there's some really good teams there and evenly matched teams. And I think we even have some surprises in the section on the regionals, too, in AAA. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to that game tomorrow night, so it should be really good with them in Capital. So that'll be just a good little taste going into the postseason.
Wholeheartedly agree. Jeff Jenkins, always a pleasure, and we'll try to make this a more regular occurrence as we get into the postseason.
Yeah, guys, I'm sorry I missed you earlier. Sorry about that.
Hey, things happen. It's busy times. Busy times.
Okay.
Jeff Jenkins, always a pleasure. We'll step aside right now and take a break. When we come back, we'll go back to the phone lines as well. We're going to have Josh DeLauder, our state's all-time leading scorer, on in a few moments as well. And I do want to say before we go to break, the all-clear has been given in that situation. It was unfounded, just a couple blocks away from Marshall's campus. So 4th Avenue, 1400 block, all clear except for the snow. We'll be back with more Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia right after this.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Carrie LaHoda, Tulsa Lady Rebels, Steve Harrison, Sissonville Indians, Cody Maynard, Parkersburg South Patriots, Elijah Cuffey, Polka Dots. What they all have in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Have you got an athlete that made an outstanding play? You can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week, we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night, we select a standout athlete of the week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab, fill out the nomination form, and we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Check it out at basketballnight.com. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Mountain State's voice for high school basketball. Thanks to everyone sending us tweets tonight. We appreciate all the notices about cancellations, scores for games that are playing. We really appreciate that. Keep us updated every day of the week. And we post the Hoops Roundup. At midnight, we send you a link at Hoops Roundup with all the scores of all the games throughout the state. Shout out to Coach Eddie, MTHS Sports, West Virginia Turkey Thug, James Barker, and News Radio 910. They've all tweeted us tonight. Thank you very much. Tweet us and we'll mention you on the air. Follow us on Twitter at @Hoops_Roundup, @Hoops_Roundup. This is Basketball Friday Night.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, and Ryan Epling.
10:22 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, James Collier with you. We'll have Rick Marone back with us in a few moments in what has certainly become an ice-cold studio here on the campus of Marshall University.
Do you expect anything less? So we started, around -15, -18
I know
this
there used to
morning?
be a heater back here.
Well,
and then
yeah, there used to be a lot of things around
that's
here.
That's true. Unfortunately, less of what there used to be, but that's okay. But we do have the snazzy shirts, thanks to Dr. Chuck Bailey. And
nice names. I mean,
got the embroidered
insignias on the sleeves. Yeah. We would tell the guys to zoom in, but
no, it's automated.
It's all
there
automatic.
There is nobody there. But nonetheless, definitely appreciate all that they do. We're going to have Josh DeLauder with us in just a moment. Before we do that, though, James, I know, again, we run Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. here on the Fast Break Sports Network, and it's a lot of fun on our side of things. We want to promote basketball as a sport, it's a sport. Sports are fun. It's a community activity in a lot of ways in the high school level, and it brings communities together. And unfortunately, some people can kind of put a negative spin on it. But as a whole, I mean, it's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. These are high school kids who are 15 to 18 years old that play because they like to. It's what they like to do.
I kind of took a new spin to it last week on the trip as we were headed to Greenville. I actually got a call out on Twitter from one of my good friends. Something that he had started in the state of Kentucky. We had him on the team or on the program a while back. Tim Carper. He's hashtag Dean Fig on Twitter, but he's one of these guys. He covers East Carter, West Carter, and Ashland Tomcats sports for the radio station that he works for there in Kentucky. But he's also such a great guy because he really brings out the best in covering student athletes. So one of the things that he started with social media was a new hashtag talking about student athletes and really bringing them to the forefront. So I picked up his hashtag, and it's called Promoting Student Athletes. And it was taking each student athlete that you talk about, and you bring up a moment that you remember with that student athlete. And I went back through all of the ones that I had the opportunity to talk to and either coach or work with, and it was a lot of fun because it brought back some great memories of the people that I've had the opportunities to meet and share time with here in the state of West Virginia, but also my times back in Kentucky. And like you said, when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about. It's about teaching what these kids are doing and being able to tell what these kids are doing in a positive limelight. And hopefully that's our goal here with Basketball Night, and hopefully we're doing that to the expectations of the listeners and viewers at home.
Absolutely. And I want to go ahead and alert the affiliates that this 10:30 break that we are going to take is going to be a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. We'll be just fine. We'll get everything caught up. Right now, joining us on the phone from his home in South Carolina is West Virginia's all-time leading scorer, Josh DeLauder. 15 years ago, Josh took Paw to the West Virginia State Tournament in Charleston, and in many ways was kind of an enigma. That was before the internet was such a big, widespread deal. A lot of people just heard of him and then got to see him on that big stage. Josh DeLauder joins us now. Josh, pleasure to have you here on Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me. Ron, I got to admit, man, you told me you were going to have that red pawpaw shirt on. I don't see it.
Now listen, this is the truth. I left home and got about halfway here and went, oh no, I forgot the shirt. And
oh yeah.
And I was running too late to be able to turn around and go back, or I would have. But I made sure you saw the video. You do know that it is in existence. And
yeah.
But boy, Josh, something that we've talked about is the community involvement, and Paw Paw High School, one of the smallest high schools in West Virginia, and of course it's been 15 years now since you had put the capping, the final touches on your high school career with over 2,900 points, a number that is likely to never be broken. Of course, you never say never, but just when did you realize that you had a chance to set the state scoring record?
Well, you know what? We really didn't find that out until Mr. Sam Huff, the old statistician for West Virginia, out of Wheeling, actually contacted our school, I think going into the summer of my junior year. And it was basically news to everyone. It's something that I never really kept track of, or the school didn't. And, to answer your question, that's exactly how we found out.
I know that in many situations, small town schools, we see the movies such as Hoosiers, where it kind of glorifies the small town experience in growing up in a small community, representing that community in basketball. Did you feel some pressure though to come along with that?
Yeah, I mean, of course you do. Growing up in a small town. it was just something new that none of us really ever experienced. And when you have the weight of basically a program at the time on your shoulders, of course there's going to be pressure. I think it was more media pressure. It really wasn't pressure from the community or the people of the state. It's just something that we kind of took over and something we enjoyed for a while, for a good 3 to 4 months.
Well, just take me back to that. Take me back to a game night in Paw Paw your senior year when people knew who you were. And Rick Kozlowski, we've been able to talk with him. He wrote a great piece 5 years ago, catching up with you then. And but just take me back to game night. Of course, Paw Paw in Morgan County, population 508. I mean, gotta love that.
Yeah, you gotta love it. And it's funny you bring Rick up. He was always fantastic to me. Great guy, great journalist with the Martinsburg Journal of Martinsburg. A basketball night in Paw Paw back in those days. That's what the town kind of lived for at the moment. As you said, we're a small town, basically in the middle of nowhere, and that 3 to 4 months that we experienced that, there would be lines out of the gymnasium to the road, standing room only, and it was a lot of fun at the time. When you're a kid, you really didn't realize it. You didn't really take it in as probably as much as you should have, but it was a special time. I know the people of the community really enjoyed it. And definitely, actually, all the guys on the team enjoyed it, just not only myself.
Well, for those who aren't aware, Paw Paw located right on the Potomac River in Morgan County, and the high school just off Route 9 that runs through town there. And from my understanding, a lot of people found Route 9 and found their way into Paw Paw to watch those games, and a lot of people from out of your area. And what was that experience like when you realized that people are coming to see me play, and to be able to handle that at that age?
Well, I mean, when you're at that age, you really don't think of it that way. You just want to go out there, you want to play basketball, you want to have fun with your friends. Halfway through the process of my senior year, it did get a little overwhelming for all of us. Just not me and my, the family. I had a younger brother, Matt, that a lot of people forget about, that was a fantastic basketball player. And, playing with your brother, one of your close best friends, it just kind of made it easy and natural. It was nothing that was really overwhelming at the time.
Well, I'm also going to guess you grew up playing with your teammates all the way through. Tell me about 2 years after you graduated, they went back to Charleston to the state tournament and kind of made their own name in that regard. Was that satisfying to see them do that in its own way of saying, hey, we weren't just a one-man show?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that like I said, that shows you the kind of player that actually my younger brother Matt was. I hear it all the time from him. I've been there twice, whatever. But when those things happen in a small town, it kind of, the stars have to align when you're picking from 50 to 60 kids. They don't happen every 5 years. They don't happen every 10 years. And for him to take his, when I went my senior year, and then for him to go his senior year, it says a lot about the time that we had there at Paw Paw and the athletes at the time we had.
When you get a chance to look back at that now, there was a little bit of a darker side. Again, I'm using Rick's story from 5 years ago, talking about going to Charleston, going to the state tournament. You played Marsh Fork, and you'd averaged 38, 39 points per game, and that was a very good Marsh Fork team, one that ended up losing in the championship game. But they beat you guys, and you were held under 20 points, if I'm not mistaken. And really, the Charleston media kind of beat you up a little bit.
Well, back in those days, 15 years ago, you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have Facebook. The mainstream media was the newspapers, and at that time there really wasn't a lot of regional newspapers, it was more centralized in Charleston, Wheeling, Beckley, Martinsburg. And, they didn't see me play all year. And, of course, when you don't see somebody play all year and see the body of work and you base their career maybe on one game, that they're entitled to their own opinion. But was it unprofessional? Yeah, I guess so a little bit. But, that's just the way it is. It's nothing that I hold in anger or was angry at the time. It's just something that was, I guess, unfortunate.
Well, it's also a situation, too, that I can say that with this show and just reading that from Rick kind of put in perspective as to what we do is that, we're very careful to celebrate good, achievements. And we know that anytime there's an achievement, there's a kid on the other side who's feeling the opposite side of that. And I think it's important to take those feelings into account. And sometimes the best way to do that is to just focus on the achievement rather than the quote-unquote failure. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we were kids. It was something that none of us were getting paid for, and people should have really just enjoyed the moment. The last time that something like that happened was nearly 50 years ago when I broke the record. But we just kind of celebrated as a team thing. That sounds cliche, but when you're in a school of 50, you grow up together, and you're practicing, you're playing every day together. It was just an event and an opportunity for all of us to kind of enjoy the limelight, so to say. We were, at that time, I want to say the smallest school in the state of West Virginia. So, we just really enjoyed it.
And I know now looking back 15 years now that you've had a different perspective of things. I know you actually played baseball in college. It turns out that you were a really good baseball player too. Not a lot of people realize that. But now you've kind of had the opportunity to look back on it. Has it changed the way? I don't know. Now that you've been able to get some life experience behind you and see the bigger picture of things, has that changed the way that you remember your high school days?
Oh, man, to be honest with you, when you get older, there's things more important than that.
Mm-hmm.
When you have kids like I do, it doesn't really change anything. It is what it is. We all felt pretty successful for what we accomplished at the time, and that's what's most important. And we had fun when as we did it. So, it doesn't change my life aspect. If to answer your question, there's things more important in life than that.
Absolutely. And Josh, we've got Melvin Richards. Do you happen to know Melvin Richards per chance here?
No, I do not know
No.
Melvin Richards.
All right. Well, we got Melvin Richards on hold. I'll just hold off on that. He actually has the same area code you do, by the way. So that's why curious if you knew him. So I'll just hold off on taking that call for now. Yeah, I'll do you a favor on that one. But I do want to bring in Rick. I do want to bring in Rick Kozlowski of the Martinsburg Journal. He's on the phone with us tonight as well. And Rick, you hear from Josh here, and I've got you both with us now here on the phone. And all this time later, sometimes it's not bad to take a little trip down memory lane as long as you keep it all in perspective.
Well, I've just been sitting here enjoying Josh kind of reminisce on the whole thing, and it just strikes me that I'm hearing the same classy kids I heard back in high school, and when I talked to them 5 years ago.
And Josh, before let's also update people. You live in South Carolina now, correct?
Yeah, I do. How you doing, Rick? It's nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, you too.
So Josh, what do you do now?
Well, my wife and I, we live in Bluffton, South Carolina. It's right outside of Hilton Head. I work actually in Savannah, Georgia for a home health company and operations and development, and been there for a couple years now since we moved down here. So, yeah, just enjoying the sunshine. It's cold down here, though. I can't imagine what y'all are going through up there.
I was going to say, what's cold for you right now?
We're down in the 30s, man. That's cold. You get spoiled down
We
here.
haven't seen the 30s.
That would be a heat wave here right now.
That's what I hear.
Josh, I was down that way 2 weeks ago, and we actually had a frozen field that we had to stop softball for the first morning there. It was on that Friday morning. It was 28 degrees Friday morning to start the day off.
Oh, good Lord. That reminds me of the old Potomac State baseball days when I played up there shoveling snow off.
Rick, before we go
well,
here,
let me interject real quick on that. I saw a picture, I think it was yesterday, of the Potomac State baseball field, and yes, somebody was shoveling snow off it, and it looked pretty deep.
Yeah. I hear you got some on the way coming tonight as well.
Yeah. Josh, some things never change, right? But Rick, before we wrap this up here, and we'll keep you on the line after the break as well, but anything that you would like to say or ask of Josh DeLauder now?
No, I think I guess my one comment would be is, and you alluded to it earlier, that it's a record that probably won't be broken, and I would agree with that. It could only be broken at a place like Paw Paw, a school so small that there's so few kids there that when a great basketball player comes into the school, that he has to be a starter and a regular scorer, big-time scorer, starting with his freshman year. That's the only way it can happen. And I don't think, well, like you say never, but I'm doubting that it'll ever be broken.
Well, Rick, I'm going to put you on hold here, and we'll wrap things up with Josh. And, Josh, first off, I want to thank you for your time. Again, I know that I talked about when it was in the introduction, kind of an enigmatic figure at the time because, as you mentioned, there were the regional newspapers. The internet wasn't quite as fine-tuned as it is today, to where access to athletes and being able to see their videos on Twitter and YouTube and everywhere else. But you were kind of at the very end of that quote unquote the dark age that you and I were in high school at the same time. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. And again, we definitely hold your name in high regard for what you did, not just as a scorer, that's part of it, but for taking Paw Paw High School to the state tournament and getting to take that small community on that memorable ride, one that was memorable for folks from communities who are nowhere near Paw Paw, and that was mine included. We definitely appreciate all that you were able to do and accomplish there then, and we appreciate you taking time out to talk with us now.
Anytime, Ryan. It was great talking to you guys. All
right, that's Josh DeLauder, the all-time leading scorer in the state of West Virginia. We're way behind. We got to step aside and take a break. We'll come back. We'll catch up with Rick Kozlowski on the snow and ice in the Eastern Panhandle when Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
It's the Daily Hoops Roundup, part of BasketballNight.com. Every day we recap the day's scores just for you on all the teams in West Virginia. We send followers a tweet at midnight with a link to the Daily Hoops Roundup. You can also visit BasketballNight.com and just click on Daily Hoops Roundup for all the day's scores. We'd like you to become part of our score reporting crew during the week, too. Send us your team's scores by Twitter, text, or email, and we'll make that part of our Daily Hoops Roundup. We want you to become part of the Basketball Friday Night family on Twitter, @Hoops_Roundup, @Hoops_Roundup. Email scores to scores@basketballnight.com. Scores@basketballnight.com. You can also send a text with Scores to 304-249-4924. 304-249-4924. Check it all out at basketballnight.com. The Daily Hoops Roundup. We want you to join us online tonight. Also, you've got till 11:45 to answer our poll question. Last week, we asked this question. What's the most all-around competitive region in West Virginia high school basketball, boys and girls, this season? 45% of you said Region 1, 24% Region 4, 22% Region 3, and 8% Region 2. This week's question, should West Virginia high school athletics switch to a one-class system? Vote yes to keep single A, double A, and triple A classes, or no to go to a one-class system. Go online. On the right-hand side of our poll on our webpage is the poll question. It's all at basketballnight.com.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, and Ryan Epling.
10:45 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, and James Collier with you. And again, I go back to where we were talking with Josh 15 years ago. Paul making that state tournament run. And I went to a high school that's still never been to a state basketball tournament, boys or girls. And I've been doing some research. I haven't got it completed yet. I've just been making some progress in it. But I believe that Wayne High School is the only school that is of its age. There have been some newer schools come along over the past few years that haven't made it yet. But Wayne is about the oldest school that's never had a boys or girls team make the state high school basketball tournament. So I know growing up in Wayne, playing basketball, there was always that dream of getting to Charleston. And I kind of look at Josh DeLauder and I see what he was able to accomplish and know that there was a lot of weight on his shoulders. And I didn't appreciate that at my age growing up. Again, he's a year older than I am. I graduated in 2001. He graduated in 2000. And so at that age, I didn't get it. But I think that, especially the what Rick wrote 5 years ago, and I keep referencing that. Google it, guys. You'll want to check that story out as well. But I really think that helped me learn a lot about the other side of it, the people who do make it and the road they take. And Coach, I know you've taken a small rural school to Charleston too. You got it to where it's a regular thing, but that first time is different.
Well, it's different, and I think what a great insight. And you mentioned the article that Rick did, and the interview tonight. I think a lot of times people don't look below the surface. And James, a lot of people saw the gaudy numbers that Josh DeLauder put up, and don't realize that that's a young man. That's a ball club that was carrying the weight of their community. As he mentioned, 50 to 60 boys in the whole school. And when things come, I don't want to say crashing down. That sounds too negative. But when things don't turn out the way the storybook says, a lot of times people just kind of cast aside the people who had that magical run. I think he's got a great perspective on it. And from Rick Kozlowski, it sounds like he even had that back in his teenage years.
Well, and kind of another example of you talk about things crashing down. Last week, how about the story coming out of Chicago, Illinois, with the Little League baseball team coming out, finding that they had a player that was ineligible that was playing out of another Little League. Ends up costing them not only the regional championship, but the United States championship. It was then awarded to Las Vegas. That's not those kids' fault. That's the administrators. But it goes back to that community, and those kids have to live with that as they move forward.
I'll argue, though, on that situation that nothing was truly taken away from those kids because they have the memories of the run.
Yeah, they have the
memories of Williamsport, the memories of going to the White House.
If anything was taken away from those kids, it was the Las Vegas kids that had it taken away, the experience of being able to play for a World Series championship.
And the Indiana kids who lost in the regional final.
Right. To Chicago.
To Chicago, right. So yeah, those are the ones who had it taken away from them, in my humble opinion. Rick Kozlowski was kind enough to stay with us through the break, and we welcome the Cause back in. We know who he is. He's the Cause. Now we can have Cause time. We want to do a little serious time now. Now we can have a little bit of fun. Rick, welcome back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Who are you?
One of the great songs of all time. Actually, one of the best visiting starting lineup introduction songs of all time.
Well, the thing about the Who is if you're driving along the highway and their songs come on, they have some great drum licks that you can go to on the steering wheel, the dashboard. Oh, it's incredible.
You sound like you speak of this out of maybe experience.
Yeah, possibly.
Well, Rick, not a lot of basketball to be played, right? Well,
let me ask a question first.
Go ahead.
I was listening to the poll question, and now how many schools are there in West Virginia?
There are 125 that play basketball.
Okay, I was thinking, I just scribbled down 129 here. So here's my, and it's not on your poll. I want to have 125 classes, so everybody gets a trophy.
Can we have a state tournament? I mean, we would run. I mean, we have to all get together and have a tournament of some sort, though. We just won't keep score. How's that?
Well, there you go. and apparently, in weather like we're having this week, then no one gets to play anyway. So.
Yeah, and apparently, like the weather that's apparently going to come in is not so kind either. Rick, I know Eastern Panhandle, much like all of West Virginia, kind of shut down for the week.
Yeah, I think there was maybe one game last night. Hedgesville beat Washington, and I don't know what the score was, but it was like 15 points. I know Berkeley Springs somehow got in the game tonight, or is in the process of playing a game tonight. They got their across the river rival Hancock to say, "Hey, yeah, we'll play you." So they played a game tonight, and beyond that, just throw it up in the air and go watch some college basketball.
It's been that type of week where we have kind of just thrown our hands up in the air and said, forget it, I quit. It's just that's whatever's on TV.
I've probably changed assignments about 10 times this week for people, trying to look at what is going to happen, might not happen. And one of my stringers sent me a text today saying, "Well, you got ESP." I said, "No, I don't have ESP. I got ESPN."
Rick, is this kind of weather? Is this you hear about putting stuff away for a rainy day? Do you also have stuff you put away for a snowy week?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, we had quite a few spring-related stories we ran in the paper this week. Because the spring sports at Shepherd were supposed to start this weekend. Baseball, softball, and lacrosse. So we had those stories sitting in the hopper. So it made it look like we were actually doing some work this week.
Rick Kozlowski always making doing nothing look busy. That's its own job, though. I'm just playing, Rick. Obviously, you do a great job. And
I was actually out covering something tonight. So the tough man competition.
It takes a tough man to get out and fight in this stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, plenty of blood being splashed around the boxing ring tonight.
Fortunately, not as much in the gym. But Rick, we talked about the postseason coming up for girls. The boys have one more full week. and it doesn't look promising, at least at the beginning of the week, in terms of making a lot of progress with the basketball play.
Well, I guess it'll be seen up here in Region 2 AAA Section 1. Games are scheduled Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I think, barring major upsets, Jefferson and Martinsburg will emerge from that section as the two teams that go on to play. I'm guessing Buchanan, Upshur, and Hampshire from the other section. But really, there's not the kind of balance in girls basketball around here that there normally is in the boys basketball. So it's, there's a couple teams that have had some rough seasons girls wise.
Well, as we head down the home stretch, Rick, we appreciate you calling in. I know we asked you to call in a little bit early so you could also join us there with Josh DeLauder, and we appreciate you doing that.
Well, that was actually fantastic. I was glad to hear his voice and get in the conversation. And I guess the one thing I might add to the Josh DeLauder situation, the thing that I really found interesting is beyond his ability to score a lot from the field during the run of play, he would go to the foul line 15 to 20 times a game. Teams would get behind, try to foul to win the game, and invariably he had the ball. And this was a kid who could just really stroke it from the free throw line. So he got a lot of points with the clock stopped, which obviously helped boost the average. But but the fact of the matter is, though, and you talk about the pressure. Free throw shooting late in games can just drive some kids crazy. So it even became kind of a double kind of thing on him. The pressure of carrying his team. The pressure of free throw shooting, and then of course that chase for the record that I think was probably influenced more from the outside than really than really that Pawpaw needed it to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they accepted what was going on, but it was the outside influences that just made this thing so compelling and so. I got to see this thing. It was fun.
Yeah.
For those of us who didn't have to do it.
Right, didn't have to live it every day, and I think I've said it before. To me, it's a cautionary story right there. It's a perfect example of remember their kids, let them have fun, let them enjoy the game.
Well, hey, absolutely. I don't know. I was at a game a couple weeks ago. And I normally don't sit among the fans. Normally I go to games and there's places for the press. I happen to be sitting in the stands. And I was just incredulous at what some of the people, parents, adults, not kids, adults, were yelling at the kids. Like, wait a minute, these are just kids. They're not professional athletes. Too often, people lose sight of that. It's an extracurricular activity. Kids are doing this because they enjoy it, because it's fun. Most of them, unlike some of their parents, know that they're not going to college on athletic scholarships. But the pressure sometimes that the parents put on these kids is just unbelievable.
Absolutely agree, Rick. We got to cut it short. We're actually 2 breaks behind, so we've got to take a break. But always a pleasure. We'll talk with Rick again next week. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates. Listen on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State, including Power 92 Radio, 92.3 FM WYRCLP in Spencer, 97.9 FM WSBWLP Parkersburg, 91.5 FM WRSG Middleburn, 106.7 FM WHFI Linside, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM WVOW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZLP Edmond Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAPLP Clay, 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. Cable subscribers can find Basketball Friday Night in Huntington on Comcast Channel 25, Armstrong Digital Channel 204. Streaming online high-definition video can be found on our website, basketballnight.com, and on affiliate rsnsports.com. Listen online with any computer or mobile device by going to basketballnight.com and click Listen Live. We want you to become part of the Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia family. Follow us on Twitter and make sure to mention Basketball Friday Night in all your tweets. Follow us at @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Tweet us your team's scores and give us your comments on the game. @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Shout out to John, RSN Sports, Brian Phipps, Michelle Walker, Jeff Hoffman, Joe Linville. Thanks for tweeting us tonight and being part of the show.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, and Ryan Epling.
We are so far behind on breaks. We're going to have to take another one here in just a second. Before we do that, I want to tell you what's coming up in our final hour here of the program. We'll talk with Dave Morrison, ESPN The Ticket in Hinton. We'll also have our resident referee, Bo Anderson, and we will speak with Carrie LaHoda, our standout athlete of the week from Tulsa High School. We'll also have Logan High School standout Shayna Gore. That's all coming up in the final hour. Once again, we're going to step aside, take a break. When we come back, we'll have a scoreboard update for you and much, much more as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Mackenzie Barker, Clay County Lady Panthers, Jared West, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Jadarian Wade, Parkersburg Big Reds, Gage Wicks, Williamstown Yellow Jackets, Gavin Nichols, Clay County Panthers, Elijah Cuffey, Polka Dots, Cody Maynard, Parkersburg South Patriots, Stephen Hairston, Sissonville Indians, and Carrie LaHoda tonight from the Tulsa Rebels. What they've all got in common is they were selected by Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia as the standout athlete of the week. Have someone remarkable on your team? Did you have an athlete make an outstanding play? You can nominate your team's players to become the Basketball Friday Night Standout Athlete of the Week. Each week we consider nominees based on leadership, performance on the court, academic performance, involvement in the community, and volunteer work. Every Friday night we select a Standout Athlete of the Week. Head over to our website, basketballnight.com, and click on the Standout Athlete of the Week tab. Fill out the nomination form and we'll take it from there. We want you to nominate your team's athletes. Check it out, basketballnight.com. Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, the Mountain State's voice for everything high school basketball. A shout out to folks tweeting us tonight, including Coach Eddie, MTHS Sports. Even our own Ryan Epling sent us a tweet tonight. West Virginia Turkey Thug. James. News Radio 910 WLTP, Joe Linville, Mountain State Prep Hoops, Coach Leeds, Hawks Nest, Jeff Hoffman, Michelle Walker, and Brian Phipps. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Heard statewide on great radio stations. Visit basketballnight.com to find the station nearest you. Get all the scores all the time at basketballnight.com or on Twitter at @hoops_roundup. Now back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with James Collier, Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
It's 11:04 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Happy to have you along, Ryan Epling, Rick Marone, James Collier with you. We'll have Dave Morrison of ESPN The Ticket in Hinton in just a few moments. We'll also have our resident referee, Bo Anderson. But first, let's check the basketballnight.com scoreboard. Looking for scores? Look no more. Visit basketballnight.com. Boys basketball action tonight. Again, a very limited schedule due to the weather conditions. Aaron Coles, 14 points, lead the Moorfield Yellow Jackets over East Hardy in a Hardy County battle. 59-39, Yellow Jackets get the home win. Nicholas County beats Midland Trail tonight, 73-63. Also tonight, Wheeling Park beats Steubenville, Ohio, 76-61. 26 points for Phil Bledsoe, 23 for Toddy Goodwin Rowe in that win for the Patriots. Also tonight, Magnolia, for the fourth straight game, goes to overtime and picks up a win over Woodsfield Monroe Central out of Ohio, 92-85, 39 points on the night for Preston Boswell. Also tonight, Shadyside, Ohio defeats Cameron, 56-48. That was in the OVAC third-place game. Also an OVAC game, Brook defeats Beaver Local, Ohio, 71-45. University beats Indian Creek, Ohio, 71-48. Freshman Ethan Ridgway, 28 points. Sophomore Jeff Hamperian, 15. Hey, that's a young University squad. It's got some kids who are scoring well with the basketball. Berkeley Springs tonight beats Hancock, Maryland, 74-46. It was Lindsley Academy. The Cadets beat John Marshall, 63-57. Valley Wetzel over 100, 85-56. It was Shadyside over Cameron, 56-48, and Richwood defeats Webster County tonight by a score of 80-70. Girls high school basketball action tonight. Petersburg beats East Hardy, 55-32. The Polar Bears of Fairmont Senior beat Ravenswood, 69-31, and also tonight 11 points from Kendra Johnson, 10 from Tam Bumgardner. Wheeling Park beats John Marshall, 52-32. That is your basketballnight.com scoreboard. Again, you can always tweet us at @hoops_roundup. Let's go back to the phones. Dave Morrison, ESPN The Ticket in Hinton, joins us now. Dave, welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Hey, guys, how are you doing? I'm just sitting here trying to figure out what Rick Kozlowski Incredulous looks like.
I think it looks about the same as Rick Kozlowski normally looks like.
Well, that's a scary thought right there. I was afraid of that. How are you guys doing this evening?
We're just trying to stay warm here, and we're gonna eventually get above freezing.
Dave, you could put this together. You could put together the 3 TV shows of Murder, She Wrote, Andy Griffith's Show, and Matlock, and that would make out Rick Kozlowski.
That sounds about right too. I was impressed that he knows who the Who are.
Yeah, isn't that hard to
dance tunes, show tunes?
I'm impressed with the grammar. The Who are.
The Who are. Yeah, that was nice.
That was good.
Dr. Bailey is sitting there
difficult.
Going, that is nice.
That is difficult, but that was very well done.
Who are you?
There you go. Well, Dave, not a lot of basketball going on, but a lot of basketball coming up. We're to the important part of the season. You're in the heart of one of the best AA girls basketball sectionals, if not the best, and also one of the better AA boys sectionals as well in that area. Boy, this is the time of year when it really starts to matter. But teams are going to be out of practice a little bit, maybe a little rusty going into the postseason.
Yeah, I gave that some thought this week when I had no time to. I actually had time to do things because 4 games that I had scheduled this week all got canceled. So this is probably not the time when you want this to happen. We're coming right up on tournament play. If it's in January, well, you're going to get back in it. You're going to have a little bit of time. You talk about the girls sectional coming up here on both sides. You've got Wyoming East, obviously the number 1 team in AA, and the Summers County squad, who everyone knows what they've done in the past. And actually, they were supposed to have a nice ceremony originally scheduled for Thursday, then rescheduled for tomorrow. It's not going to happen then. They were going to unveil a 4x5 plaque with all of the teams that made up the 105 straight wins they did between 07 and 2012. And it was going to be a nice thing, an unveiling, announce a lot of the players that were coming back for that. And obviously that's not going to happen. But point being, these teams are going to go right into the sectional coming off all this layoff. A lot of places, if you don't have school, you can't practice. So basically, if we get the snow that they're calling for again, they may be going right into these games having not practiced for close to 2 weeks. So you wonder what kind of basketball you're going to get. If there was ever a time for an upset in one of these games, it would probably be then without teams practicing. I fully would have expected and really still do that Summers County and Wyoming East are going to play again. If on schedule, it would be Thursday evening, which will be a great matchup for the 3rd time. Now, Wyoming East has beat Summers County twice in their 2 regular season meetings, both of those by double figures. So you have to think that they're going to be favored there. On the other side, you've got Pikeview and Bluefield, who have spent time in the rankings, and you would think they would come out of it. But that's going to be an incredible sectional and regional matchup when, I won't say if, but when it does occur. And I think if you're a fan of girls basketball, that would be the place to be, with some Wyoming East and Summers County. And it could be both of those advancing to the state tournament. Bluefield has beaten Summers County. That's Summers County's other loss, other than the 2 Wyoming East losses. And Pikeview and Summers County have played a couple of really close games. So it makes for a really good regional here. On the boys' side, I think you're probably going to look at mostly the same squads. Wyoming, obviously West Side, the top team here in our AA section, Region 3. And I would think the Wyoming East would be the other team on that side. But then again, Liberty did beat Wyoming East at the Big Atlantic Classic in January. So could go either way there. And on the other side, Bluefield and Pikeview, I think, will be the two teams coming out of that section. So it makes for some really good basketball when we can get to that.
Dave, you brought up a good point with Summers County and Wyoming East and those regions. If you're a coach that wants to try to slow the pace of the game down, you want to break it into a half-court offense, really play it out to the first 1 to 40 wins, are you almost kind of sitting back doing the snow dance for Snowmageddon 2 to really drop in, to take away the conditioning of these teams that transition so well, likes to get out, run the floor, fill the lanes, and make it into a high-octane, fast-paced game?
You would think that, but in the case of Summers County, they're the same way. They like to get out and score in transition. They like to use their press to cause turnovers, so they're a team that's probably relies a lot on conditioning too, which is exactly what Wyoming East does. I think the one thing that Summers County doesn't do a lot of is zone, and I would almost, and I'm not a coach obviously, and when I say this you'll probably understand why, I would almost go to the zone and pack 4 girls in the lane, in the paint, so that Gabby Lupartis can't drive to the basket and get the easy baskets she's been able to get. You would think that it is going to affect conditioning some. I mean, just a week, 10 days, but still, when you're not out on the court doing what you're used to doing for the first 3 months of the season, all of a sudden you're down for 10 days or so. I would think that would affect conditioning somewhat. And it will be interesting to see just how these teams respond to not being able to play. And the good thing about it is it's affected just about everyone. I know that the Northern Panhandle's got some games in this week, and I think the Eastern Panhandle Cost has some teams played there. We had very few games played tonight. I know Greater Beckley in the West Virginia Christian Athletic Tournament won another game tonight using mostly JV players. I believe they'll bring their varsity squad back. They beat Cross Plains 55-40 tonight.
Yeah,
and it was a lot of.
I'm sorry, go. I was just going to say the Christian Schools tournament down in Beckley, and this is something I need to run by somebody up the chain a little bit for me, but Greater Beckley using its JV and counting those as JV games, and I'm not sure the SSAC is going to. I'm not sure the SSAC would allow that because they're playing other varsity teams.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a. I don't know if the SSAC would have any bearing on that because most of those schools are not part of, but Greater Beckley is. You're right. You make a good point.
And well, neither are out-of-state schools.
Part of the SSAC.
Right. So I mean,
right. I guess you're right. Yeah.
The
right.
Yeah, the West Virginia schools that are not part of the SSAC are governed the same as an out-of-state school in that they are not governed by the SSAC. So I don't think that Greater Beckley could play its JV against somebody else's varsity. You've got one team counting it as a varsity game, one team's a JV game. That doesn't quite match up to me, and I don't want to say that you can't do it, but that's something I would like to get answered.
I would think that somebody would have checked that out already.
I would hope.
And I was talking to Brian Helton yesterday, and it seemed like everything was on the level with that, and it was checked out because they did add a game Monday night with Notre Dame. Clarksburg, Notre Dame. That game's going to be played at Fairmont State on Monday. I think they wanted to get another game in against a quality opponent before the tournament started. You know, that's a pretty interesting section right there, too, because they're going to Valley or Great Tug Valley is going to come out of on the other half, and they're going to have to play, you know, one of those teams. If it's Tug Valley's shown that it's knows a little bit about what it's doing when it's playing Greater Beckley, because both those games, Greater Beckley won by 2 in Beckley and lost by 3 down at Tug Valley. So, yeah, that's a good point, though. I think that somebody should. I would have thought. I would think that they probably already have asked those questions.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not making any accusation of any kind there. It's just something that's a little bit different from what we normally run across. Dave, got to let you go, but appreciate you joining us tonight. Stay warm and stay safe this weekend, and look forward to hearing from you and talking basketball again next week. Hopefully we'll have some games to talk about.
Yeah, really, because it's been a while. I mean, I think the last time we talked, I haven't seen a game since then. So hopefully we'll have some games on down the road. You guys stay safe out there.
Sounds good. That's Dave Morrison, ESPN The Ticket in Hinton, West Virginia. We'll step aside, take a break. Come back, we'll have Wes McKinney, WAEY in Princeton. Our resident referee, Bo Anderson, is also standing by. He gets tired from standing for so long, I would think. But he's a referee. They never sit down. We'll talk with him, too, a little bit later on as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Special thanks tonight to all of our affiliates. Listen on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State, including Power 92 Radio, 92.3 FM WYRC-LP in Spencer, 97.9 FM WSPW-LP Parkersburg, 91.5 FM WRSG Middleburn, 106.7 FM WHFI Linside, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM WVOW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZ-LP Edmond, Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAP-LP Clay, 88.1 FM WMUL in Huntington. Cable subscribers can find Basketball Friday Night in Huntington on Comcast Channel 25 and Armstrong Digital Channel 204. Streaming online high-definition video can be found on our website, basketballnight.com, and on affiliate rsnsports.com. Listen online with any computer or mobile device by going to basketballnight.com and click on Listen Live. Join us online and vote in this week's poll. You've got till 11:45 tonight, and then we'll share the voting results. This week's question: should West Virginia high school athletics switch to a one-class system? Vote yes to keep single A, double A, and triple A classes, or you can vote no. A one-class system would be better. Go to basketballnight.com to vote in this week's poll. You'll see the poll on the right-hand side of the page. You got till 11:45 tonight to vote, and we'll share the results at the end of the show. It's basketball Friday night in West Virginia.
This is high school basketball's home for the Mountain State. Basketball Friday night in West Virginia on the Fast Break Sports Network. Now, back to basketball night in West Virginia with James Collier, Coach Rick Marone, and Ryan Epling.
11:19 on this basketball Friday night in West Virginia. You want to give us a call, 1-855-345-4709. We go right now to Wes McKinney, WAEY in Princeton. And Wes, much like almost everyone else across West Virginia, Princeton under some snow.
Yeah, and only going to get worse, Ryan. We got like 16 inches of snow, which, no big deal for us down here. And looking to get maybe 6 or 8 more inches before it's all said and done by late tomorrow night and early Sunday morning. But obviously no games to talk about for Princeton this week. They were supposed to play 4 games, which I thought was going to be a big stretch for Princeton. They were supposed to have Bluefield on Tuesday night, Riverside Wednesday night, Oak Hill last night, and then they were supposed to play at Ripley tonight in the MSAC place game. But none of those games happened this week, and I wish I could tell you guys when those games were going to happen. There's speculation that Bluefield I should say the Bluefield was going to get pushed till tomorrow, but then the Board of Education nixed that game with the impending weather we have coming in tomorrow. So Bluefield's not going to get played tomorrow, but there is hope that maybe they can get that game in next week. And I think that a game that Princeton definitely needs to get in next week, if at all possible, is that game with Oak Hill, because that's a big sectional seeding game, and that can really put Princeton, if they would defeat Oak Hill, that would put them in that 3 seed for sure, and potentially going to Woodrow Wilson.
And the boys' sectional seedings, if I'm not mistaken, will actually come out Tuesday. So this is definitely the home stretch for that. Wes, what was the temperature in Princeton this morning?
We had -8 here.
That's all?
That's a heat wave compared to Huntington.
I had -18 this morning.
Yeah, it actually wasn't as cold as I anticipated it to be. I believe that the Weather Channel was telling me it's supposed to be -17 here, but it actually did not dip into I'm not sure how you say it. It'd be negative double digits here in Mercer County. But yeah, it was quite cold. And guys, I mean, I'm not trying to make a big deal here about this, but I feel like that maybe, if you cancel games because of road conditions and because of snow and ice, that's one thing. But if you cancel games because you didn't have any school that day because of temperatures, then I feel like you should be able to get that game in on that particular day. I mean, they got up to a whopping 15 here in Princeton today, so I feel like you may have been able to get in a game tonight. And I feel like that's something maybe the SSAC needs to look into, is maybe trying to adjust their policy a little bit, or having each county adjust the policy whenever you cancel school just because of the temperatures. Because I was out today and the road conditions were, as good as they could be at this point here in Mercer County, and most of the main roads are fine. So
the temperature rose 44 degrees in Wayne, by the way, today. It made it to 22.
Oh, wow.
Made it to 20
Oh, wow.
or 24. Excuse me. Made it to. I lost count. Whatever.
Okay.
I can't. These negative numbers and integers and high school algebra, and it's all blur. But it's cold. and but it's not as cold as it was. So, Wes, always a pleasure talking with you, and we'll get your forecast next week too.
Yeah, guys. Early outlook is it's supposed to be in the 20s all week, so maybe we can get some games, and maybe Princeton can get some games in. And I really think that maybe this is maybe a kind of a luck out here for Princeton, because before they looked like they were going to maybe have like a whole week off before they started sectional play, but now you look like you might be playing 2 or 3 games next week, and then sectional play starts. So maybe you can get a little bit of momentum here instead of taking the week off in between the regular season and sectional play and not losing all that momentum, because let's say Princeton plays Monday night. That's the first time they've seen the court in 12 days. So I think that maybe Princeton gets in a couple of games next week, hopefully, and that may actually springboard them a little bit into the playoffs.
All right, definitely appreciate hearing from you, Wes McKinney. You take it easy right now. We're going to go back to the phones. Our resident referee, we've had him on hold for a while, but he is now with us, and there we go. Bo Anderson joining us tonight. Don't yell at kids, yell at refs. No, I'm playing. Don't yell at Bo and the guys either. Again, Bo, welcome to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Well, you went 6 minutes past the limit for technical. I had to wait 26. 20 was going to be my limit. So I'm giving you guys a small technical tonight, and I'm giving the big technical to the weather for all these games I've missed this week.
Well, Bo hasn't got to go out and officiate this week. I think he's just got to sit home and get a phone call telling him the game's been canceled. And again, and again, and again.
I'd hate to be the mailman or the milkman or anybody else coming to Bo's house, because he's probably teed them all up. It's just got to get out of his system.
Yeah, this breaking news.
I have thrown everybody out, and I tell you what, I think instead of blowing in the whistle, I'm going to have to blow dust off the whistle first before I can start using it again.
Poor little kid shoveling the walk. He got thrown out too, didn't he?
Yeah. I didn't waste any time with that one.
Yeah, coming to a theater near you, Grumpy Your Old Men 3, starring Bo Anderson as the resident referee who doesn't get to call a game.
I tell you what, I'm just, one thing about it, we're kind of like, players, we want the games to be played too. And, in a serious note, sometimes it throws you a little bit out of rhythm. I mean, I'm used to working night in and night out, and it's just kind of like the players. It's the same way, but it's very unfortunate. And I know my game for tomorrow has already been canceled, and all the games I've had this week's been canceled. And to add to that, my adventures that I had last week, because last Friday I had to take a nice detour. I was supposed to go to Braxton County, which I did, but got on the interstate, had to get off, and 20th 9th Street, and it was backed up so bad, I had to turn around, go Route 2 to 35 to get back over to Winfield, so it took me 2 hours and 20 minutes to get to Winfield.
Could have happened to a better guy.
Not good.
No, that.
You just got ejected on that.
All right. Now, Bo, I know James has been over here working diligently to come up with a good question for you tonight, a rules question, and I believe he has settled in on one for you.
All right. I know you've had a long week, so you better put your thinking cap on, because this one's a good one. All right, so basketball gets tipped loose from the player that has control of the ball in the backcourt. The ball's tipped all the way into the front court. In the process of the players from both teams trying to track down the ball, it then turns into a melee of looking like something you would see at the county fair with a greased pig. There's 3-4 players in the pile trying to track down the ball, which keeps squirting away. At what point do you rule a player having possession of the basketball? And in the process of this melee of players basically climbing over each other, is that possibly a foul, or is it just the heart of the game of both players going after the basketball?
Well, two things there. One, a loose ball always retains possession of the last team that had control of it. So that's the first thing that you have to understand, especially for a backcourt violation. Secondly, yes, there can be loose ball fouls. Everybody thinks because the ball is loose, like you said, like the greased pig, that anybody can do what they want to get to it. You cannot dive onto a player to get to it. You can't. It becomes an advantage-disadvantage situation where if two players in equally favorable positions go for the ball and they're bumping each other, that's fine. But if one just hauls off and shoves the other one, knocks the other one down, and unfortunately a lot of coaches get mad whenever you have to make a call like that because they think because it's loose, it's like football, just put the helmets on and go after it. But that's not the case. And therefore, there's always a possibility of having a foul because of the fact that you still have to go with the advantage-disadvantage situation. Even though the ball is loose, that don't mean I have a right to stick two hands out and shove a guy to the deck in order to get to the basketball. So, you have some judgment there, but you also have to maintain control of the game in those situations.
Well, Bo Anderson, always a pleasure. Hate to cut this short with Bo, our resident referee, but Bo can we'll give Bo the chance to get to bed early. He doesn't have a game to call tomorrow, obviously. So he can get good and rested up. Next week, he'll be ready to rock and roll. Hopefully he doesn't get out of shape, though, because the referees have to run up and down the floor, too. Right now, though, we're going to step aside, take a break. When we come back, we'll have a scoreboard update, and we will have Shanna Gore, Logan High School senior girls basketball player. We'll also have our standout athlete of the week, Carrie LaHoda of Tulsa High School. He's still got 30 minutes to go, but we got a lot to get in as Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia continues here on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Streaming video live from the studios at Marshall University. Visit basketballnight.com for video, audio, and the Basketball Friday Night scoreboard. Watch our live high-definition video stream by going to basketballnight.com. All it takes is just one click to watch. Listen online with any computer or mobile device by clicking the Listen Live tab. We also want you to become part of the Basketball Friday Night family. We'd like for you to become our correspondent and update us on your team's games. Let us know about cancellations, reschedules, everything that happens with your team. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup. @hoops_roundup. Shout out to the folks tweeting us tonight, including Coach Eddie, MTHS Sports, West Virginia Turkey Thug, Jeff Hoffman, Michelle Walker, Brian Phipps, RSN Sports, John, Coach Leitz, Hawks Nest, and Joe Linville, and Mountain State Prep Hoops. Call the show tonight. We want to hear from you toll free. 855-345-4709. 855-345-4709. Give us an update on your team's game. You can tweet, text, email, or just give us a call. Find out how by visiting basketballnight.com. Special thanks again tonight to all the affiliates carrying the show tonight, including WYRC in Spencer, WSPW in Parkersburg, WRSG Middleburn, WHFI Linside, WVOW Logan, WFGH Fort Gay, WQAZ Edmond Beckley, WYAP Clay, and WMUL in Huntington. It's Basketball Friday Night.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, and Ryan Epling.
It is 11:32 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia, a night where there weren't that many games because it snowed everywhere. But the Potomac Highlands, ironically, where they usually get snowed out ahead of everybody else, they did get some games in tonight there, and some games were spread across the state. We'll talk with Shanna Gore, Logan High School senior, as the Lady Cats of Logan get ready for the sectional tournament coming up at Willie Acres Arena at the Logan Fieldhouse. We'll talk with her in just a minute. But first, James, another check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Looking for scores? Look no more. Go to basketballnight.com for all your scores from around the Mountain State. In the boys' side, one new final just rolling in. Richwood, a 10-point win over Webster County, 80-70. It was Moorfield, the Yellow Jackets, stinging the Cougars of East Hardy, 59-39. Aaron Cole with 14 points. Moving on down the list, Nicholas County over Midland Trail, 73-63. It was Wheeling Park by 15 over Steubenville, Ohio. Phil Bledsoe nets 26. Toddy Golden Row has 23 in the win for the Patriots. Regulation not enough for Magnolia and Monroe Central as they go to overtime, and Magnolia comes away with a 92-85 win. Preston Boswell drops 39 in for Magnolia. Shadyside, Ohio knocks off Cameron in the OVAC third place game, 56-48. Also in the OVAC tournament, it was the Brook Bruins over Beaver Local, Ohio, 71-45. University knocks off Indian Creek, Ohio, 71-48. Freshman Ethan Ridgway has 28 in the win. Sophomore Jeff Hamprian drops in 15. Berkeley Springs over Hancock, 74-46. Lindsley over John Marshall, 63-57. Valley Wetzel knocks off 100, 85-56. Over on the girls' side, it was Petersburg over East Hardy, 55-32. Fairmont Senior, the Polar Bears, withstanding the cold temperatures and cooling off the Ravenswood Red Devils, 69-31. Our final score tonight, Wheeling Park over John Marshall, 52-32. Kendra Johnson has 11. Tam Bumgardner nets 10. That's a check of your basketballnight.com scoreboard.
Thank you very much, James. We talked earlier, the Class AAA Region 4 Section 2 tournament begins this week at the Logan Fieldhouse Willie Acres Arena. And the seedings for that one, Huntington gets the 1 seed. They'll take on the winner of the Lincoln County Cabell Midland game. Spring Valley will play Logan in that other sectional semifinal. Shayna Gore, senior guard with the Logan Wildcats, joins us now. And Shayna, 2 years ago, I talked about this with James. 2 years ago, 2 sophomore-led teams, your Logan team and that Spring Valley team, played a sectional final. That was a classic. Played a Class AAA semifinal game. That was a classic. I don't think anyone would have thought that 2 years later you would play an elimination game right off the bat, and one of you is not even going to reach the sectional championship game.
It was definitely a surprise when we found out that we were going to end up playing Spring Valley in the elimination game. It's kind of a scary thought for me because it's either I either win and move on or I lose and get ready for Marshall. But either way, we're just going to come out and give 100% no matter who we're playing.
Shayna, when you think of it in that manner, you literally have a date and a time that you can put on what possibly could be your final high school basketball game in a Logan Wildcats jersey. How much motivation does that put to you to try to get ready for this game, and how frustrating has it become because of the weather, of keeping you out of the gym and practice sessions, of not being able to fully prepare for this contest?
Well, it has been snowing, but I have been in the gym. The snow hasn't stopped me from working, or some of my teammates. We have been in the gym working and getting ready for sectionals because the seniors, we have talked, and I don't want it to be my last time in a Logan jersey. I mean, I'm excited for Marshall, but I'm not ready for it to end so soon. I want to make it to the state tournament my last time.
You talk about what she's been doing every day on Twitter. All you see is, I want to go shoot. I want to go shoot. I talked to Kevin Gertz Thursday morning when he called me with the sectional pairings. He said, I think Shayna and Monica's been in the gymnasium since about 6:30 this morning. I said, well, at least they're not doing something else. So.
Well, we did. Me and a couple of my teammates, we stayed up the night in the gym, actually, with him. He let us spend the night in the gym. And me and Monica did shoot for a while. We got the basketball out and turned on the lights, and we were shooting till probably midnight.
Well, that's a situation that I know a lot of people not getting to have those team practices and having to kind of make it on their own through this round of snow. But Shayna, Spring Valley is a team that you're very familiar with, one that these two have done battle. I think Morgantown, Parkersburg South are your Charleston rivals right now in terms of statewide scale. I think Logan and Spring Valley are on your sectional scale. Is probably the top rivalry in AAA going right now, and that game coming up next week. How big is it to have it at home?
I think we are going to be ready to play at home because we're going to have everybody come out to support us. And I think my team plays better in front of big crowds. Okay, momentum, and it motivates us to keep going. If we score, the crowd's always into the game, and it just gets us going. And that's what I think wins us games sometimes at home. And I think playing the sectional at home is going to help out a lot.
Shayna, talking about playing at home and against Spring Valley, you had the regular season game there at Willie Acres Arena. How much does that go back to play into the outcome of preparation mentally and physically, of knowing what you have to do and what you need to do to be able to come away with another win over the Timberwolves?
I have to say that win in the season was a team effort, and I think Wednesday is going to take the same way. We need people to do their job. We need people to score. Some people that hasn't scored all year, we need for them to step up and get some shots when we need them, drive to the basket, and rebound every chance we get.
Shanna Gore, who led the Wildcats to the state tournament 2 years ago as a runner-up, and they fell last year in the sectional to Huntington. They play sectional play against Spring Valley next week. James, will you be there for the?
I'm hoping to make it down. Depends on what time we have to depart for South Carolina Thursday. If it leaves Thursday afternoon, I'm probably making another trip down. I think that one may be one for the taking for Willie Acres Arena and one of the two teams to move on to that sectional final.
All right, Shannon, good luck next week.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's Logan Shayna Gore and James. By the way, that's not a bad trip. If you go down 52, across 65, and up 119, that's the easiest way into Logan.
Oh, you mean the same way
that's
that got
the
me
easiest
sick
way.
as could be.
That's the straightest route there. Take Route 10, my friend. Route 10.
I like 64.
Try that sometime.
64 sounds great.
No. Fred Persinger II, WJLS in Beckley. He's traveled all through West Virginia. Explain to James that Route 10 between Huntington and Logan. I know, Fred, you've lived in West Virginia. You haven't lived here if you haven't made that trip.
No, exactly. You're right. We actually get to go to Logan next Saturday, hopefully, to play some basketball. But we'll definitely go down quarter G. We'll stop and get something good to eat before we head on down.
See, Fred, I knew that somebody else out there knew what was going on.
That's how we look at the travel. That's how we look at travel. Where can we go get something good to eat?
That is always right at the top of the list. I'm right there with you guys. Now,
exactly.
Woodrow Wilson, 12-5. It's a basketball team.
Actually, 13-5.
13-5. Thank you very much. We're missing a game. We'll get that straightened out. But this is a ball club that started off really strong. Maybe was quote unquote overachieving or outperforming expectations, so to speak, for the first part of the season. And now they've lost several games, but the games that they've been losing were close games against other good teams. This is going to be an interesting last week of the regular season and into the postseason for the Flying Eagles.
Yeah, it is. When we go into the season, we thought maybe Beckley would start off a little slow and then, get better as the season went on. It's kind of been a little bit of a reverse factor for Beckley this year. We knew Beckley would come in to be a young ball club with the exception of Corey Aker, Brent Osborne, and also Noah Hancock. Would be the three senior leaders. But other than that, a lot of guys who didn't see a lot of playing time last year for Beckley. So we thought early on in the season that they would be a little up and down. But they started off with a 9-0 record and playing really well. Beat Huntington, beat Hurricane at home, on the road. So started off really well. But the last 4, 5, 6 games, Beckley has been what we thought they would be early in the year, up and down a little bit, too many turnovers, not making the foul shots, just little things that are fixable, but has cost Beckley some games late in the year.
Fred, how much does it go back to those games that Beckley was able to squeak away with, those close wins, those buzzer beaters, if you will, at the beginning of the season to maybe get past the stretch and get ready to make that push into the postseason?
I think when you look at it for Beckley, the great thing about it is the fact that when you look at the schedule, Beckley's played a very tough schedule. I mean, when you played Huntington, Hurricane, South Charleston, go on the road to play George Washington down by as many as 16 points to GW and come back and win that game by 3 points. So, I mean, the schedule strength is there for Beckley. I think they can look at individual players and realize they're not going to play anybody better in the state than what they saw in Brandon Napper, maybe not play a better team than South Charleston. So they've seen maybe the best team in the state, the best player in the state. And really, when you look at that South Charleston game, Beckley had every chance to win. I think if Brent Osborne does not go out with an injury the right before the half, I think that might be a big thing in that game that Beckley, quite possibly could pull out the win there because it was still a close game with Brent not in the game. So, Beckley has played. They've had some really good stretches in some of those games they've lost, but then again, they've looked bad in some games as well. So kind of expect that with the young team. But I think as you come down to this final week of the season, I think Beckley is, shucks, I haven't seen them do anything in 10 days. So who knows what they're thinking right now. But I think when you get to this point of the season, they start thinking that Beckley basketball and getting ready for the tournament. So it'll be very interesting to see how they come back and play the 3 games next week.
Fred Persinger II, always a pleasure.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, take care. We're moving right along to Mike Fallon, head coach of the Parkersburg South Boys team. This is a team that's been on a roll, guys. It's a team that just won the OVAC, and Coach Fallon, your team, are you worried that maybe peaking maybe a couple of weeks earlier than you would like?
No, I don't think so. I think it's one of those times of year you want to be playing well, and this time of year, I don't think there is a time to say you're going to peak at your fullest. So to us, it's playing well is a good thing right now.
Coach, I hate to cut you off, but our connection there was bad. It was hard to understand you, and we apologize for that. If you can give us a call back, we're running real tight on time. We might have to wait till next week. We do appreciate Mike Fallon for calling us, but unfortunately, sometimes the phone just doesn't want to connect up and give us a good, strong, clear signal, and that's what the case was there. We apologize for that. But we got to step aside, take our final break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. We hope to hear from Carrie LaHoda. If we don't, congratulations on being the standout athlete of the week regardless. But again, we still hope to be able to fit that in. We'll also get a final check of the scoreboard. That won't take long. And we'll have our poll question as well on basketballnight.com as Basketball Night in West Virginia continues on the Fast Break Sports Network.
Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia will return in 2 minutes on the Fast Break Sports Network.
High school basketball action in West Virginia is heating up as the teams focus on a trip to the state championship in Charleston. Stay up to date with your local team and its progress all season long with Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia for 3 hours every Friday night from 9 to midnight. Listen online or on great radio stations throughout the Mountain State, including Power 92 Radio, 92.3 FM WIRC-LP in Spencer, 97.9 FM WSPW-LP Parkersburg, 91.5 FM WRSG Middleburn, 106.7 FM WHFI Linside, 101.9 FM and 1290 AM WVOW Logan, 90.7 FM WFGH Fort Gay, 98.5 FM and 101.5 FM WQAZ-LP Edmond, Beckley, 101.7 FM WYAP-LP Clay, 88.1 FM WMUL Huntington. Cable subscribers can find Basketball Friday Night in Huntington on Comcast Channel 25 and Armstrong Digital Channel 204. Streaming online high-definition video can be found on our website, basketballnight.com, and on affiliate rsnsports.com. Listen online with any computer or mobile device by going to basketballnight.com and click on Listen Live. Follow us on Twitter @hoops_roundup, @hoops_roundup. Lots of ways you can connect with the show. You can call, you can tweet, you can text, and you can send us an email. Email Scores at basketballnight.com. Scores at basketballnight.com. This is Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia.
Stay up to date on your favorite teams. Check out basketballnight.com. Now, back to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia with Coach Rick Marone, James Collier, and Ryan Epling.
It is 11:48 on this Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. February 20th, 2015. We've got about 12 minutes left to go in the program. Not a lot of time, not a lot of games going on because of the weather, but there were some games across the Mountain State tonight. James Collier has our final check of the basketballnight.com scoreboard.
We will start with the ladies this time. Wheeling Park victorious over John Marshall, 52-32. Kendra Johnson has 11 in the win for the Patriots. The Fairmont Senior Polar Bears cool off the Ravenswood Red Devils, 69-31. That's a final. One final score on the girls' scoreboard. Petersburg over East Hardy, 55-32. We go to the boys' side. All of these scores final. It was Richwood over Webster County, 80-70. Moorfield Yellow Jackets over East Hardy, 59-39. Aaron Cole with 14 in the win. Nicholas County by 10 over Midland Trail, 73-63. Wheeling Park knocks off Steubenville, Ohio, 76-61. Phil Bledsoe with 26 in the win. Magnolia needs overtime over Monroe Central, but gets the win, 92-85. Preston Boswell nets 39 points in the victory. It was Shadyside, Ohio over the Cameron Dragons, 56-48 on the OVAC third place game. The Brook Bruins over Beaver Local, 71-45. That was also an OVAC game. University over Indian Creek, Ohio, 71-48. The Frosh, Ethan Ridgeway, 28 points in the win. Berkeley Springs over Hancock, 74-46. Lindsley over John Marshall, 63-57. And our final score tonight, Valley Wetzel over the 100 Hornets, 85-56. Your final check of your basketballnight.com scoreboard.
You know what that means.
I was afraid it was Return of Bo Anderson.
No. This is not a horror movie. That is the sound that means we have every score of every game that was played in the state of West Virginia tonight.
Yes.
It's more challenging than one would think.
You have no clue how hard it was to scrounge up 10 games that played tonight. I think it would end up maybe being like a total of 12 or 13 when you put the girls' games there. But some nights it's you think like that, but we run down 70, 80 games a night, and some nights those are the easier nights to put in than the 10, the 12 that we have to scrounge up. But
yeah, because you got to make sure.
Thanks to everyone who sent scores along to us, though. That was much appreciated.
Absolutely. At hoops_roundup on Twitter. Also, you can always send us a score on basketballnight.com. You can visit the website, and that will tell you how to get in touch with us. We haven't talked about it as much recently, but we want some more swag. The Spring Valley stuff and the referee stuff, nice, appreciated, but we want to broaden our horizons a little bit. And my fault, I'm forgetting the Paw Paw shirt. I'm so sorry about that. But before we start to wrap things up here, we got to do our poll question tonight. And our poll question last week on basketballnight.com was, should West Virginia high school athletics, and this was for basketball only, switch to a one-class system? Now, the state of Kentucky, I believe, is the only one that is still doing that. And sometimes you get the David versus Goliath matchups, and quite frankly, David will beat Goliath many times. Of course, a lot of times the private schools around Louisville end up being the cream.
The only sport in the state of Kentucky that classes is football. Yes. Everything else, basketball, soccer, volleyball, baseball, softball, everything else, it's across the board. Everybody go get it. And you could honestly end up with a program that maybe a 5, 6A school running into a single A school. By the time you get to the state championship, it happens every single year. You get your bigger schools out of Louisville, Lexington, but you have, like you said, your David versus Goliaths, your round counties, your smaller Owensboro schools, those schools outside the rural areas that steps up. And then don't forget that little team up Sandy Hook called Elliott County. They made a few runs here or there.
Paintsville won a state championship with J.R. Van Hoos, and that's been almost 20 years now. Unbelievable.
And the part of Kentucky that so many forget too, those schools up north, Newport, Florence, Boone County, all of those teams, they seem to have a little knack that they run, especially when you get the kids that transfer in out of the Cincinnati area. So Kentucky, the way it really divvies up, you've got almost 3 areas and then one other spot, and that's the rest of the state.
Yeah, and we asked that question because a lot of our talk throughout the course of the year was, well, AA seems to be just as good as AAA, and then Westside goes and gets beat by 19 points by Ripley in Charleston, and that sort of puts a damper on what we've been saying in that regard. But I think statewide the regard is that the cream of the crop in all 3 classes are about 5 to 6 teams, and they're all about the same caliber of teams. And if you put them in a tournament, who knows how it would actually play out. I think it would be interesting. But quickly, though, just 30 – we had 80% that said keep the classifications.
Oh, absolutely.
20% said go to a 1 class system.
Yeah, I think you keep the classifications because the thing of it is not so much just as basketball, but every sport across the state. It's so much fun to watch the little guy have an opportunity. I know last year in baseball, watching the Man Hillbillies make the charge up through there. Would Man lined up against Hurricane had a shot? Probably not. But you had Man and Clarksburg Notre Dame, excuse me. That was an epic battle. And you get an opportunity to let teams play against favorable competition that matches up, no matter what sport it is. I love the way that West Virginia has things set up, being able to classify in 3 different classes, and it seems to work well.
And before I let you go off that baseball point, though, Bridgeport won the AA title, run-ruled Hurricane in the regular season.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was crazy, too.
Exactly. And Coach, your thoughts on that regard before we turn it over to Nick for this week's question.
Well, I'll tell you, I agree. I think what James says is you have 3 classifications. There's more people involved. If you have 1 class, you're going to have 1 champion. You have 3 champions. Everyone's on a pretty even playing field. And I just think it generates more excitement across the state. And real quick, a big shout-out to Dr. Bailey. Yes. I know we've got a lot of Twitter action about our lovely shirts. They're beautiful, and we appreciate Dr. Bailey, and a big shout out to my Aunt Mabel. I actually got mine in working order for tonight. I'm not the most efficient bachelor, so she took care of making sure it was cleaned and pressed for me.
We might break out some new swag next week too.
It's always possible.
You won't be here. I'm sorry, but
I'll be here in body, just not. Or I'll be here in spirit, not body. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't be here.
So this week's poll question, Nick.
Guys, with the start of sectional seed voting underway, we're asking, should coaches be allowed to vote for all teams in the region for sectional seeding? This poll will be closed 11:45 p.m. next Friday night on our website, basketballnight.com.
Now, see what that goes back to give a little background to this, is that as it stands right now, every coach votes for, or the coaches vote for every team in the region in order except for their own. And then those are split up by section as to how they fall out. So coaches on one side of the region are voting teams' orders on the opposite side and actually setting up matchups on the opposite side. Now, it's awfully hard to try to rig it. We're not saying that it's rigged by any means, but we're just saying that sometimes I think we've overcomplicated what should be a fairly simple process.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's something, the seeding process has been around a few years now, and I think the SAC is always looking at ways, and I'm actually on the coaches committee, at least I am until this year. I hope they leave me on it. Me and Scott James from St. Albans, there's a great boys and girls coaches on that state coaches committee, and in the spring, we meet in Parkersburg, and new recommendations are brought up at that time. And so if people have suggestions or things like that, let one of us know, and we can pass them on up the chain.
All right. So as we go to the final minute here of the program, maybe not the final minute. They were a little bit less than what I had originally thought. But going into the postseason now, here we go, James. It's girls basketball, no more guaranteed games after tomorrow, because tomorrow you start getting we started getting the postseason.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing is that you think about some of the matchups that we've talked about over the last couple of years and thinking that some of these teams, they're coming to an end, and some of these will end the reign of some of these plays coming up Wednesday night. It's kind of crazy to think we're already to that point.
Coach Rick Marone, before we let you go, we obviously wish you and the Lady Rebels the best of luck. We don't root against anybody, as we talk about, but we certainly do wish you guys the best of luck this upcoming week.
I appreciate it, and next week's show should be exciting. A lot of those sectionals are going to be coming down to the finals next week.
You might not be here next week.
I would love not to be here next week. I'm hoping not to be here next week.
For everyone involved, and a big thanks to Josh DeLauder for joining us tonight as well. I'm Ryan Epling. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. Tune in next Friday for the latest high school basketball action from across the Mountain State. Visit our website at basketballnight.com for our poll question, the basketballnight.com scoreboard, and much more. Until next time, have a great weekend, and thank you for listening to Basketball Friday Night in West Virginia. The preceding broadcast was a presentation of the Fast Break Sports Network. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved.